Oh my goodness, guys. How you doing? Um, just trying out some new software by StreamYard. Guys, how you doing? Um, and that would be me uh, monitoring the chat. And it looks like it's now live, but there was a lag between StreamYard and uh, the chat while I was just waiting to join. It was like more than a minute lag for your chats over there to get on my screen over there. So yeah, but now they seem to be like within half a second. Kip wants to know if this was said by Bernie or his proxies. I'm going to tell you it was Bernie that he suspended his campaign today and that he made a big speech, and I watched the whole thing. But then you're going to think, but aren't you one of his proxies? Can I really trust this third party information? Poseidon wants to know what's Warren's excuse for not endorsing now? What an egomaniac. And what I'll say is, there's not really any point as far as narrowing down the nominee because pretty much Biden is a walk-in right now. And number two, maybe it's timing. Maybe like they're going to plan out when she's going to endorse. That way, they'll be like, you know, a good bit of Biden news every week until the election so that he never loses momentum. Maybe Tulsi Gabbard can join in as well. Because as far as I know, she'd be the last person to not endorse Biden after Bernie and Elizabeth Warren. By the way, Kip, since you didn't watch what he said on his 15-minute little speech, he also did not explicitly endorse Joe Biden. So maybe like an official endorsement that was separate could also, coming from Joe Biden, sorry, coming from Bernie Sanders, could then help Joe Biden, in a different week, just to create a headline. So we've got Kip Drorty, Corny, Jamie Demeter, Poseidon, and Nick. And I'm on a streaming service now, StreamYard, that allows me to do the things that Google Hangouts used to do. Like I can put multiple people in this thing, right? There's a reason why my name is labeled right here. It's because there's room for multiple people in here. So, which one of you wants to come actually talk and not just have me reading the chat? Nick Bravo said the biggest question now is who's Biden's VP choice going to be. Biden did say that he's going to choose a female candidate for his running mate. So, if he were going to go for the Bernie Sanders crowd, he might go for Elizabeth Warren. He might go for Tulsi Gabbard. I don't know. I think it's going to be Stacey Abrams. I've said that in other streams. But today, we're here to mourn the loss of Bernie Sanders' campaign. This is our pity party. Everything he has worked hard for to bring awareness to, he has gotten nothing for. he's got no concessions from Joe Biden that Joe Biden will carry on his legacy and enact any of his policies. No universal health care, no free education for everyone, no taking on Wall Street, no taking on the big banks, nothing. Jamie says AOC or Omar. I think AOC will be a good candidate to step into the Bernie role in future years, but I don't know that she's going to get the nod from Biden, especially given what she said about him. I don't see one of you asking me to send you a link to my StreamYard or jumping on the Discord chat to just jump in on your own because I left the link on there. Yes, my ass is dragon. AOC is too young to run this year. Nobody wants to talk. I mean, I've got like 11 of you watching. Let's call up Pluto Coffins. Let's see. Last thing he texted me was, when are we doing another Lions live stream? Right now. I was going to say motherfucker, but we're not that close. We've just shared 1 2-hour live stream. Just right now, exclamation point. By the way, you guys, I've been playing this chess game with my friend Austin, and he beat me like 7 times in a row. And right now, I am beating him so bad that I'm about to take his last pawn. See that knight that's about to take that black pawn? That's me. And I am savoring this victory. I've got his king trapped between my 2 bishops right there, where all he can do is go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And he has to watch me take apart his entire army. And then I'm going to advance a pawn all the way to the end of the board and see if I get my queen back. If I do, then that'll be the first time I've ever done that on this game, because chess has different rules, different places, right? And so I want to see if I get it. If I get my queen back, it will automatically put him in checkmate, because he's stuck on those 2 spots right there where he has to go back and forth and back and forth. And my queen will cover both of those spots with her available next move. So it'll be checkmate. So I'm happy about that. It's on my grateful list that finally, after 7 games, I will have him beat. I'm going to have to knock down some of my my props here. My hand sanitizer. Get that out of the way. Because I got my phone stand right here. All right. Hi, Mitch Crane.
What's up?
Oh, hey, Pluto. I'm actually on a streaming service right now with my channel, where I can pull people in just like the old Google Hangouts. just with a
So,
link.
like, you want me to go on Google Hangouts?
No. I can send you the link like on Twitter, and then all you'd have to do is click it, and then it would engage your camera and everything, and it's just like web based.
All right, I'll do that.
Okay.
Just send me a link on Twitter, and I'll get on it.
Okay, here we go with your Twitter.
All right.
All right. Let's see. Okay. And messages. There he is. How about the rest of you? Still chickens? Mitch? Ivan? Poseidon, are you going to jump into a stream ever? I've been asking this for the last 10 minutes, and I've had no takers from the gallery. And now I have 13 viewers. Okay. It's like you guys just want to talk politics without me in my own chat. And I'm the meeting place. Okay, fine. So let's see where we're at with the Rona, as it were. Going to do my special screen share here. And with the Rona right now, we are 419,000 in the U.S. Hold on, let me just refresh. Make sure that it's the most recent numbers. Oh no, it's 432,000 cases and almost 15,000 deaths. 4,500 of them coming straight from New York. Pluto.
What's up?
Pluto, you're in.
Yeah. Is that
Hey, I gotta
15,000
turn
cases in the world, like dead in the world, or in the U.S.?
That's in the U.S., man.
Damn, that's crazy.
Are you echoing at all?
I'm in like an empty room, sort of ish. It's a big room.
No, I mean, like, are you hearing yourself come over the stream?
Oh no.
Oh, this is awesome. It's got that
Yeah,
software
it's
that
working.
makes the echo.
Yeah,
It's
Brett
like,
tried to get me on this the other day. Like, I asked him for an interview, and he was like, "All right," but he tried to like get me on his channel, and he like showed me all the shit he could do on this thing. Like, he was like, on this StreamYards, I can do this thing where he played this clip where it says "shut up" real loud, and I'm like, I don't want to go on some stream where you're telling me to shut up every time I ask you a question. But
wow.
yeah.
You must have a version that doesn't have the powered by StreamYard. I'm trying to get OBS like working, and StreamYard just makes it so easy to get everyone in here. That's the thing. It's like it's connecting all the different streams from people. That's hard to do with OBS. Now, if I go with StreamYard and then have a StreamYard window, and then I put that through OBS, I might be able to wing it in a different way. But OBS really doesn't have the inputs for.
Truth be told, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm not really a tech guy, honestly. What's OBS?
It's the software that I was using that's like way overpowered. And if you're like a low-level producer of YouTube content, you can use it for some really spectacular things.
Yeah. Well, I'm
But
like the type to like phone call someone and interview them, you know? Like the other time yeah.
Are
Yeah,
we
but
on your
Bernie
phone?
dropped out, dude. That sucks. I mean, he wasn't going to win anyways, but I would have rather seen him out, like, you know, going out kicking, but he didn't.
True.
So what are you, like, I don't really know your politics. Are you, like, independent, Democratic, Republican?
Well, I like social justice, right? Not the
Mhm.
like hand spreading.
Yeah, I know the term has been corrupted, and yeah, I get what you mean by that.
You know, not like the too extreme stuff, but I do like social justice, and so like my entire chat on the YouTube channel is like full of people who are trying to rid me of that proclivity towards social justice.
Yeah. What do you think about, like, I mean, I'm not really too much into social justice. I mean, you know what you've seen my channel. But what do you think about, like, this is something I've thought about for a while, like disability parking, like handicap parking. Cuz like I can see it for like Walmart and stuff with big ass parking lots. But like there's places around where I live that like got, I don't know, like 3 spaces and 2 of them are handicapped. You know what I mean?
Uh, I am a disabled vet, and I could get disabled vet plates, and I just don't feel like I need them. But I know that there are people who do need those spots.
No, I'm not saying that people don't need it, you know. It's just like when a parking lot has so many spots, should they have to designate one for a handicap spot? Like, say it's like a restaurant or something where people are in and out like 5 minutes, like a pizza place or something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
For accessibility, I think it's a thing that they need to have that.
Yeah, I agree, but it's just like at certain times you see things that come up and it's like, you know. Or like
have been the dick that-
there's that thing where all pools have to have the thing for handicapped people to get in. But I was watching this documentary where like some hotels haven't seen like a handicapped person come into their hotel in like decades. So like it's really getting no use, and they had to like put that in because lawyers would go around to these places to make sure they had everything, and then they would like sue them if they didn't. So they like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had to have a certain number of their suites handicap accessible. And the remodel to a bathroom for that is hellacious.
Is what?
It's hellacious. There's a whole bunch of stuff you have to consider.
Yeah.
Remodel a bathroom in a hotel room, especially widening the door.
Beyond that, like this has nothing to do with it, but the over regulations made me think of it. But like places in Texas with abortion, they'll have regulations for, oh, the room's got to be this big. If you're going to perform abortions here, you got to have this, this, and this. And they'll have those regulations, and then they'll build according to those regulations. And then the next year they'll pass different regulations saying, oh no, it's actually got to be this big. And so all those like clinics they have over there are like fucked because they built them according to the other regulations, but then they pass new regulations to fuck them. So people couldn't get abortions in various states in the South. Texas is one of them, I think.
Well, yeah, I went to an abortion protest just to talk to the people there, and they were nice. But the particular one I went to was in Beaumont, Texas, and it was such that they were trying to talk to everyone on their way in, right? And
right.
there was no boundaries back then where they couldn't cross. And so I talked to them for a while, and then the next time that they were doing a protest of that same abortion clinic, when I went there, the highway that was closest to that clinic was ripped up, and they were doing
the highway was what?
It was ripped up.
Yeah.
And so I had to drive around the neighborhood to get actually to where the clinic was. And what I found was they decided that an entire city block needed to be worked on with the water main. And
Oh, okay.
what that did was they had a law saying that any healthcare clinic had to have running water, and if they didn't have running
Yeah,
water, they had to close. And so they just took their sweet ass time with that water main repair for like 6 months.
right. That's ridiculous, man. That just leads to like black market abortions and shit. That doesn't lead to people not getting abortions. And that leads to people like even if people don't get an abortion, that leads to like mothers that don't want their child and like they don't want to take care of it or they don't have the capability to take care of it.
Yep. So what I've got on the screen right now, it's showing the death rates of different countries, and where it says United States doubled in the last 5 days.
That's fucking
That
crazy.
yeah, just today we had on April 8th it was 1,906 deaths that were reported the previous day, like all calculated and put together in the morning of April 8th. Now, on the morning of April 9th, we'll see where the number is, but pretty much the numbers keep ascending. And this was the single worst day so far in America was 1,906 deaths. And we'll see what April 9th brings.
Yeah. Do you see that people were wearing like doctors? Okay, so like there was this news crew that went into this hospital where they were treating people with corona, and the doctors were wearing like garbage bags, like instead of like hazmat suits or whatever. And the news crew that came in was wearing like legit hazmat suits, but they went into like these doctors were working there every day, right? But they were wearing garbage bags. It's crazy, like what our healthcare professionals are working with in this shit. I didn't think this corona was going to be a big deal because the mainstream media didn't really act like it was going to be a big deal, and I really haven't been keeping up to date with news lately. Ugh.
Well, I've been trying to explain it to people for months now,
Yeah,
and
I have a friend that like tried telling me like way back in January like this thing's gonna be big, and I didn't listen to him. I'm like, nah, it's just gonna be like Ebola, because that's what I heard, but it wasn't. It's
Mhm.
something now. Like one of my friends doesn't have a job right now. But yeah, it's crazy.
How old were you when 9/11 happened?
I was one.
So you've heard that before 9/11 the world was different,
Yeah,
right?
like you could go into an airport and people wouldn't search you. You bring guns onto planes, stuff like that. I
Yep,
played
and there
like
was
video games where like mobsters would take stuff onto planes and they wouldn't have any trouble. They'd have like coke in their
Mhm.
knapsack or something.
You could walk across the border to Canada and not need to take your passport.
You see, that's some crazy stuff right there. That's some next
Like
level
I
not
have,
giving a shit. But also, it's Canada. I could see that.
I have been
And this Canada's
in Vancouver casinos like multiple times before they required having a passport. I've never had a passport.
like to this day.
Yeah, I did all my traveling that was overseas
Right.
while I was, and I had a military ID. I didn't need a passport.
So you're in the military.
I was.
What were you like? Navy, Air Force,
Or,
Army?
mhm,
The what?
the army.
Oh,
Poseidon
To like
just
go
said that.
overseas?
Yeah, I did. Poseidon said that he remembers when people smoked on planes,
Yeah,
and
that's something.
kids were allowed to go up and talk to the pilot in the
That's
cockpit.
also something. I feel like
Yeah.
kids would fuck with the pilot.
I would go on American Airlines, and they would give out wings to kids. It was just like a pin with wings, and in order to get it, you had to go up to the cockpit and ask for it, and they would give you a little wings to pin on your shirt.
Some kid goes crazy and stabs the pilot in the eye with it. That's all I see happening.
It was a different time back then. People didn't do shit like that.
Yeah. There was that chick in like, I don't know what year it was, like 1956 or something. She like it was like one of the first real school shootings. She like got up on top of a building and started shooting across. But that was like a rarity back then. It was like you can't find many stories like that back then, back in the 50s and 60s through.
So we've got Ivan, we've got Poseidon, Flapjack Butter, and No Privacy. And one of them needs to step up and ask me for the link to the stream to talk with us, because this can get blown up to a lot of people talking.
AOD helped fight a war on the moon. He did it while in the Space Force. Damn, dude. You never told me about that. That's interesting. Tell me about fighting the Empire.
I was never on the moon.
Damn. I mean, I was once.
Did you read his next line?
What's the next line? Let's see. I like this. You can look at the chat.
Yeah. He said the aliens were trying to steal our green cheese.
Just the green cheese, huh? We've got better cheese than that. Schools had teacher and senior smoking lounges. Yeah, I heard about that.
Jamie,
I mean, like, that's still a thing. Like, now just the teachers and the kids go to their cars.
Mm-hmm. I can't throw the link to this thing just like in the description, because if I did, what happened last time I did that when we used Google Hangouts was some guy kept on using different accounts that I would block and ban.
Right.
But he would jump on with a different account each time, and he would flash porn.
Obviously.
On the stream. Yeah, he did like a screaming voice that was just screaming.
That guy really doesn't like you, or he has no time on his hands.
Yeah.
So you'd like scream and then just show porn. That's something else.
In fact, Jamie, who's asking to get into this stream, he left a link on one of my videos just 1 hour ago that led to a video that's on YouTube of a guy pooping into his hand and then smearing it on a mirror.
Maybe he's, you said the name's Jamie?
Yeah, he's Jamie in the chat right.
Maybe Jamie just wants to like turn you on a little bit. Maybe he thinks that you're into that,
I don't know. It was just the link.
I mean, obviously you're not. Obviously you're like disgusted by this. But maybe Jamie's on some other level, like trying to like impress you so you can get on the stream,
Well, I hear a lot of weird things from a lot of weird people all the time. So it's
the internet.
It's hard to disgust me. But what does disgust me about it is that the video is on YouTube, had like 11 comments or so on it, and like no one had taken it down yet. No one had flagged it down. And I'm like, naked dude poops in his hand, rubs it on a mirror, and nobody thought, hey, this is not right for our platform.
I like the likes on it, because someone had to sit down and be like, I like this. Keep making shit like this. There were some kids at my work today. They're just like a few years younger than me, but I call them kids because they were like talking about Two Girls, One Cup, and they had just seen it for the first time that day, I guess, and they were talking about it. And it's like, whoa, it was so disgusting. I'm like, dude, that's like a decade old, not older. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gross shit on the internet. Have you seen the one with the mason jar?
No.
This guy, he takes a mason jar and he shoves it up his butt, and then at the very end of the video, it cracks inside of him, and then you just see blood coming out. Yeah. Yes, that is the reaction that you get.
I didn't even have to see it. You know, I did have a friend that once described something similar to me.
Yeah, it might have been that.
But it was his imagination of what was going on. But he was actually having problems in that arena, and said that every time he went to the bathroom, it was like pooping glass. Principled uncertainty. Are you man enough, Irish man enough, to jump in this stream? He just said, "Oh dear God." I will find principled uncertainty.
Yeah, it's called One Guy, One Jar.
One guy, what?
One Guy, One Jar for that mason jar video.
These videos with just like descriptions of like the quantity of the things in the video.
Have you ever seen Mr. Hands?
No.
Okay, this guy, I think he's from like Washington or Oregon or something, and he had like a bestiality kink, and he let a horse fuck him up the butt, and it like ruptured his like insides, and he had to go to the emergency room, and he died.
So why do they call him Mr. Hands?
I don't know. I think there's like a documentary or something about him. That might have been like his username on like bestiality forums or something. You have to feed youngins? It's like 1:22 in the morning, bro.
Wait, did somebody just say he doesn't want to come into this stream?
Yeah, he did. He's like, he has to feed his youngins.
It's not like we're like debate experts that we're begging you to come into a fight about why Ireland Irishes.
What does he disagree with us about?
Principally, I think in Ireland they have a disagreement with the U.S. about there being a designated time at which it becomes okay to drink. See, we like to divide our day like
an age?
4 or 5 o'clock. No, before 5 o'clock, you're not supposed to be drinking.
Oh, no, I'm with the Irish on that. I don't think there should be a designated time to drink.
Okay, why not?
Obviously it depends on what you're doing that day, but it's like tomorrow I have tomorrow off. I have some shitty carbonated alcohol. Admittedly, it's shitty, and admittedly, it tastes like shit, and admittedly, it's a girly drink. But that's all I have. And I also have some pot, which that'll come in handy when I'm drinking that garbage. But like tomorrow I have off. Why not? You know what I mean? Got all the food I need in the house. Don't need to go outside. You know?
Yeah. Jamie.
But if I had work or shit to do that day, there's a different story. You shouldn't be drinking and driving.
Jamie, I left the link on my Discord. You can jump on my Discord because you've already done that before. And get it in the general chat.
You're right. I'm a kinky dude, but I'm not going to start stripping on cam. I'm a little too shy for that. You got to like romance me a little bit.
Poseidon has never had a real conversation with me. And he has had like over 700 comments on my channel.
Yeah, and you say his name all the time, dude. I know who he is because of you.
Yeah?
I remember him from the last stream. He needs to come on, dude. He's like you're a big fan of Agent of Doubts. You're always on his streams. Why don't you just come on for once, dude? And then you can show all your friends. Look, this guy. I ain't wasting my time. I was on his stream. I guess I'm the only brave one.
Do you want to have a debate with Nick?
About what?
He says screw stay-at-home orders.
I haven't been seeing too many people. I haven't been seeing old people at all, but I have been going outside a lot. I've been like going on hikes in the woods and stuff. That ain't too bad. And I've been going to work.
I'll throw in the link, since like everyone else in that chat seems to be chicken to just jump in and quit being just a chatterbaiter and come in to talk to real people. We're trying to do this because everyone is locked down, social distancing and all that. This is the most interaction you're going to get your whole fucking week, and still you'd like to hide behind your keyboard instead of having a real conversation.
I am in Illinois, Nick.
So Pluto, I have this idea that Ohio, Iowa, and Illinois are all going to join together into one mega state.
Honestly, you said Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. Honestly, I could see that happening. We're all the same place.
Ohio, Iowa, and Illinois.
Oh. I feel like you gotta have Indiana too for like the connection, But we are the same state. Iowa grows corn. Illinois grows corn. Indiana grows corn. Ohio grows corn. We all got like Chicago's like a decent city, I guess, but all the other cities in the region suck. Our industries are fucking moving out to other places. Yeah, we're in the middle. The Midwest should just be the Midwest. It should just be one state, the Midwest.
So I have a name for this proposed state.
What is it?
Oh, I will annoy you.
Oh, I will annoy you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it could work out.
It was a pretty long walk to get to that joke, wasn't it? Oh my goodness. I have 15 people.
I always like the name of the state, Idaho.
Okay. We're trolling the hell out of these 15 people in the chat, I swear.
Blandtopia. That's Wyoming.
There we go. Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch. Is that the same Mitch?
No, that's not the Mitch that you're thinking about. It's a different Mitch. Oh. Okay, so Pluto just dropped out of the stream for whatever reason. Jamie?
Hello.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, Jamie, we can hear you.
Hello?
You're live, bro.
Yeah, you're live.
What's going on?
We're here to cry about Bernie Sanders dropping out.
Which sucks. Joe Biden's going to lose, and Donald Trump's going to be president.
Biden would be a great president.
Yeah.
If he could win,
I don't know if he'd be a great president. I feel like he'd have like other people doing stuff for him. So depending on who those other people were, it would decide what his presidency would be, whether it's good or bad.
so in the chat, Nick says that he has to drop a deuce first, and then he's going to come in and he's going to debate Jamie on whether or not we should social distance.
I want to know if Nick watched that video I sent him. I gave him a link to a video. I wanted him to check it out.
Video you sent me?
Is it the poop
Yes.
video?
Dude, why
Yes,
did you
it
send
is.
me that? That did not do it for me.
I'm gonna watch it later, but it'll probably do it for me.
He left it on a comment on my previous video. So I didn't delete the comment yet, so
Yeah.
you can go check it.
I'll be right back. Shit. My phone dropped.
You delete comments normally?
What?
Do you delete comments?
I've heard now that if I don't delete certain comments myself, that my channel can get flagged for letting certain comments just exist for me not cleaning up my own channel. So
What about
I have deleted comments in the past. Anything that's germane to the actual subject, I would feel bad about deleting. But if you're just putting a video of a guy pooping and smearing it on a mirror, yeah, I would delete that.
you don't believe in freedom of speech?
Well, I believe that this channel is like my own personal coordinated pool, and that's like someone saying, you know, you don't believe in people's right to pee when they pee in your pool. You know, we're cultivating this channel to be something better than, you know, just having poop videos with no context.
If there's a pool, I pee in it, just to be fair.
That's the
You know?
spirit.
It's like there's a pool there, you're in it, you're not going to get up, get cold, go to the bathroom, you're going to pee in it, you know?
I think the best path forward is just to have a channel based on free expression.
Well, what happens when you have that is it crowds out a whole bunch of other things. And what I'm making the argument for here is a safe space. And I'm not saying a safe space for any sort of people that like have an identity or a history. I'm saying a safe space for interesting conversation that is germane to the topic that was presented.
To be fair to Jamie, I think I get what you guys are talking about. On my channel personally, if someone leaves a comment of poop balls, I leave it up. That's a comment, and I mean, why not? But I mean, I get what Agent of Doubt's saying in that comment has nothing to do with anything, but you know, I don't think it's hurting anything either. I think it's just there, and people can be like, "Oh, look, there's a retard in the chat," you know.
Jamie, you realize I've on multiple occasions
Did I
stated
just
that
crush?
I like social justice, and not a one person in my chat is left that likes social justice. All of them are of this shitlord variety, right? All of them do not like social justice warriors.
I'm on his stream, for Christ's sake.
How did that happen? That happened because I had too much of an allowance for pissing my pool. I actually feel like people are watching my channel just to see me as kind of a lulz cow.
What's a lulz cow?
It's
like a troll comment.
It's a cultivated source of ridicule, where they might have a thread somewhere that talks about the specific person all the time, and they just keep stalking this person because they're unintentionally or ironically lulzy.
So
Like,
they're just trolling you then. But like you have your channel monetized, don't you?
Yes.
So like these people are like giving you money, aren't they? I feel like that makes up for it in a way. I mean, I get that they're like fucking with you, but you like in the end, you are making a little bit of money off of them, so fuck them, you know?
It's a very little amount of money.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've seen the amount I made off of the shit.
Yeah. Poseidon says he loves to watch me melt down every time Trump wins. And my
Trump's a
meltdowns
fuck.
They aren't even that.
You don't have to like social justice to like Trump. Like some guy commented on my page today because I posted a video about Bernie dropping out, and he's like, "You supported Trump in 2016, and I didn't. I just said he would be preferable to Hillary, but you don't have to like social justice to dislike Trump. Trump's a fucking piece of shit liar. Like he's a con artist. I hate social justice. You know what I mean?" Hello, Nick Bravo.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
My computer's acting up a little, so if it jumps or something.
Well, I think back to that comment about free speech and posting comments and peeing in the pool. If you have a discussion where you're trying to get to the root of whatever idea you're talking about, how can you ever get to the truth if you don't allow everybody to speak? That person might say something that you hadn't thought of.
Yeah, but
You're completely right. I have not thought about a guy pooping in his hand and spraying it on a mirror. Prior to this day, it never had crossed my mind that somebody would do such a thing.
Yeah, but people like that stuff because the thing of it is the average person thinks, oh, YouTube is there for me. It's there to entertain me. It's not. YouTube is there to deliver you to advertisers. Because if you look at something like hair, makeup channels, toy channels, anything that's going to appeal to mass market, you're talking about potentially millions of viewers over any video over the course of years. Those advertisers, once they lock in, that average person is going to sit there and see every commercial, every advertisement. That is gold to those advertisers. Anything that's controversial, anything that's political, anything religious, anything that's too sciencey, they're going to remove because it's too controversial for advertisers. Because the normies, the idiots, think, oh, if this ad is on this video, it means that advertiser agrees with what this video is saying. Because they literally don't understand how advertising works. They're going to shut down anything remotely controversial. It's just like with YouTube. We do not have genres of the genres of like psychology, philosophy, and religion. Those genres don't exist on YouTube as far as like looking as far as picking a genre. In fact, those three that I mentioned, I don't think that I know in the last 10 years they have not had those listed as YouTube genres.
I keep cutting out because my phone keeps dying, by the way.
Charge it.
It's on the charger. It's just I got I bought a new phone and I had my charger out and my dog chewed on the charger, so I had to like tape it together. Been too lazy to go out and get another one. But yeah, I have been going outside. You haven't been, Agent of Doubt.
What?
You haven't been going outside.
No.
Like at all? How's that working?
It's Denver.
So I went to take some trash to the trash can. I checked the mail. I got something out of my Jeep, and I walked the dogs twice. That's as far as I've been outside.
But also it's Denver, so which means it's a huge city. Not very many places to walk if you're gonna like try to avoid people, because somebody's gonna look it out the window, huh?
There's not many people outside. It's easy to avoid people.
Yeah, but they're still looking outside. They, one might call the cops and say there's somebody outside, because there are some people who've been arrested for being outside in other parts of the country.
Walking a dog is actually considered essential.
Yes. There people are going crazy with it. There was a news story a few days ago where some married couple in the UK somewhere, the cop basically threatened them both with arrest unless they observed the 6-foot rule. They were like, "We're married, we live together." The cop was like, "I don't care, 6 feet." So it's like, let me try to find the article, but I think it was the UK Sun, but I'm not sure.
I think what needs to happen to this stream, for Poseidon's sake, because he's too chicken to jump in my stream, I think we need some Phantom Lion.
I think we need to, yes.
Terrence Hypnonipple, are you brave enough to jump on a live stream with us? Sometimes I wonder, why is it that I'm going through all the trouble to set up these technologies to put out this content when you guys aren't even going to want to use it? I could just be.
I think they want us to fight about politics, but I'm not going to fight about politics. I'm too tired. It's too late at night.
Yeah.
Although, did you see the article where some dumbass said Trump's briefing today? Some dumbass journalist wannabe asked Trump about the I forget what the guy's name is, but it's that stupid court thing attached to the Netflix Tiger King or whatever the hell it is.
Joe Exotic?
Yeah, and the journalist was like, "Are you going to pardon him?" And Trump was like, "I have no idea what you people are talking about." But he goes, "Oh, I'll look into it," right? He's just kind of like trying to get the journalist to kind of shut his mouth, right? So I think it's on Drudge or something, where there's like an article, because now the news media is trying to make a big thing of it, but it's like, well, these journalists will ask the dumbest questions, and then if Trump entertains them, they mock Trump. But then at the same time, if Trump said it's a non-issue, we're talking about something serious here, then they would also bash Trump for, not caring about the people's concerns. So it's just, he's not going to win no matter what they do. I mean, it's no matter what he does, the media is going to complain.
I will give you that. But in this time right now, his inaction in locking down the whole country has cost at least a couple thousand lives.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
When he said that there was 15 cases and soon it would be 0, At that point, he should have locked down every state that the cases were in, and he should have been doing testing of a large swath of people to see if it was popping up in other places, like Germany did. There are, see, the way this pandemic has played out, I mean, at least half of the deaths you can't blame on him. The other half, you can speculate.
Yeah.
Right? And I can't say that Biden would have done any better because we have this capitalist society, and that's what he was hedging, was like, if I shut down the whole country, then the economy is going to tank like it did, right? Or at least the stock market did. And so that he's thinking, well, then I'm not going to get reelected.
Well, and
I don't know that Biden had the moral turpitude ever to do something where it would mean positively that he would not be reelected. So I even think Biden would have hesitated in Trump's shoes and said, well, let's think about this. Let's take a little time to weigh our options. He might have moved a little bit faster, and he's been at least dogging Trump with a couple of statements saying that he should have moved faster. But would he have moved right away? No. I don't think politicians in either the Democrat or the Republican Party would move right away on something that's going to shut down the economy, because they know that they're not going to get reelected.
Well, I also have to wonder if, like, the 20th century is kind of on repeat, because it looks to me like this is similar to what started the Great Depression. And I know Trump does not want to start a war, but I just, maybe I'm being paranoid. I hope I am, but you look at the younger generations, and they're kind of cool with fascism, whether it's coming from the right or the left. I mean, they are. You can find channels on YouTube, and they are talking about ideas that are right out of fascist Italy of the 1920s and 30s. They're bringing up philosophies that are authoritarian, and whether it's right or left, because it's like, and just like Pluto said, I mean, it's like he can't imagine a world where you could just like walk across the Canadian border with no passport. You couldn't imagine a world where you could walk up to the cockpit of a plane and ask for a little trinket.
When I was 8 years old,
yeah,
8 years old, I bought fireworks in Lakewood, California, at a fireworks stand, put them in my backpack, got on a plane the next day, and then I had these fireworks in Arizona. In Arizona, fireworks were always illegal because of the high risk of starting a fire, a brush fire, because of all the dry crabgrass. So I went to a place where fireworks were illegal all the time, right, with a backpack full of fireworks.
Did they let you keep your fireworks?
Yeah, did not ever get searched.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I don't know. I mean, it's like, I mean, you can make the argument that there needs to be more order and structure. You can make an argument for authoritarianism within certain situations, but I don't know. I mean, the pandemic. I mean, real estate's going to crash again within the next 6 months, I think. Not just with the rents and the mortgages, but because what a lot of renters don't realize, what a lot of landlords don't realize, the bank says, yeah, you don't have to pay your mortgage. Well, okay, what happens 4 months later after you're not paying your mortgage? And then they say, oh, now you have to pay your mortgage. But they're going to say, oh, we want that past 4 months. We want it now. People are going to be like, well, wait, you told us we didn't have to pay it. The real estate market is going to take another hit. It's still a good place to get into, but it's going to take a really big hit. Housing prices, property taxes, I do predict within the next year or so, once this coronavirus, well, my thinking is because property is going to crash, the states are going to have to find tax revenue somehow, and they're going to all look at what Colorado did, and they're going to say, hey, we got it legalized just for taxes, just for that tax base. And I know here in Nebraska, Omaha and Council Bluffs are like within walking distance of each other. Whichever state legalizes first, you're going to have a huge chunk of the population from the other state coming to buy your weed. And really, the only thing that's keeping weed from being legal here in Nebraska and also in Iowa is just certain politicians have certain corporate connections that are keeping that from happening. And we don't have to, it's the corporate fascism more than the government fascism. Because as a government, and this is what China does, all the government has to do is say to some place like Google or YouTube, say, hey, we'll give you X amount of dollars if you silence these people for us, or if you don't run these types of ads. And then when the corporation does it, the people complain, and the government says, oh, we didn't have anything to do with it. So it's going to be corporate fascism, which is going to be marketed to the public as for your safety. And it's, it's not going to be the Nazis we have to worry about or the Bolsheviks. It's going to be, it's going to be those damn CEOs at Google and Alphabet and Facebook and who knows where else. Sorry for the rant. Anyway.
No, you're good.
I think
You mentioned it a minute ago, but the weed thing about people like crossing state lines, getting weed, selling it. I live in Illinois. It's legal this year. I've been smoking weed since I was 16, so it was illegal when I first started. The weed market, the black market is still very much booming here. Like, they tax it too much, and they like the dispensaries will charge you like $60 an eighth.
Yeah,
that goes like $20 on the street.
Yeah,
they're never going to compete if they keep it at those prices.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of an anarchist. I mean, this is one of my favorite books, Demanding the Impossible: History of Anarchism. My mindset is do whatever the hell you want as long as it's not hurting another person. I'm not talking about hurting their feelings. No, I mean actually physically harming another person in some way. As long
Isn't
as
that more what's the word?
Adults, if it's
libertarianism.
Well, look at it this way. Two consenting adults. Say, for example, prostitution. Do you think prostitution should be legal?
Yeah.
Right. It's two consenting adults.
Right.
They're not hurting anybody else.
Money? Like,
so
what's the issue?
why is it illegal? Well, it's illegal because certain politicians have feelings. They're precious feelings.
But they're getting hookers too.
Well, and the thing of it is, though, if it was legal, the prostitutes they'd be able to regulate it to a certain degree so that if some guy did hire a prostitute, beat the living crap out of her, she'd be able to go to the police and wouldn't have to be worried about doing prison time herself.
Right.
But we have all these antiquated ideas based on nothing but feeling. And if you look at the way our society is structured, the higher up you are in the social hierarchy, the more your feelings matter. So if some bureaucrat way up here, if they have a feeling, they pass a law, which is simply an opinion backed by a gun.
I'm not sure if it's their feelings or necessarily the feelings of the the general American public. And they're just like, the majority of people think prostitution is wrong, so I'm going to be like, you know what I mean?
Do you know how the legislature works?
Yeah, like they go with the wind.
Do you realize how many laws they pass without telling the people? Have you ever gone?
Yeah, and they add add-ons to bills, and they say, "Oh, this bill's for that," but actually, it has an add-on that's going to go for this.
My point being basically is go into your legislature. Spend the day. Just I know here in Nebraska they have these you can go down into the records office and you can get these books of every law they passed in the previous session. Get those and you can see what's going on. You can also, if you want to, you can observe them throughout the day. You can actually go in there. They've got this area around where all the legislators sit, and they can you can literally just sit there, and watch them the entire day, watch how the process is done. And 99% of those laws are not even told to the people. The people are kind of parentified. The people just sit there and think that the government loves them, that it has their best interest at heart, that it cares about them. And this is part of the problem because we have these old politicians. I mean, it's amazing to me that Tulsi Gabbard, for example, wasn't the obvious shoe-in for the Democratic Party. She checks all the boxes. Female, ethnicity, she's a veteran, which looks good to the Republicans. She's got all these things that check the boxes, right? She's a little bit of a fascist.
She's also Polynesian.
Well, she's Hindu. And if you look at what I've heard and what little I've read about her, her viewpoints regarding her own culture back in India and her parents and all this other stuff, there's a little bit of fascism there, which is understandable. That is, Indian belief system, their society has a very hierarchical structure. I mean, it's still, the caste system is still, unfortunately, alive and well. But she should have been a shoo-in for the nomination because she was the only one President Trump really would have had a problem with. Now, if she would have had, let's say you have Tulsi as presidential nominee, and then she gets somebody like I don't know, and I don't want to say Warren or somebody. I'm trying one of the not Buttigieg, but maybe Klobuchar. I can't think of the name.
Klobuchar.
Yeah, if you would have had two candidates for president and vice president that were Gen X or younger, that would have sealed the deal for the Democrats. They really wouldn't have had to do much. They would have just sat there and said, okay, these are our candidates. They check all the boxes, etc. They would have got in. But what do? Instead, they prop up a babbling dementia patient who's getting worse. You can see it. Just look at 6 months ago. And now he's gotten worse, right? Now,
I think they added Joe Biden in because Bernie was leading, for a minute. And then they were like, fuck, no one's doing as well. No one's going to beat Bernie. And then they had Joe Biden as a last ditch effort to try and get against Bernie. And it was successful,
Absolutely.
Well, the problem is, though, they're going to do they would have done to Bernie what they did to him last election. Bernie would have had a chance to beat Trump, but they wanted to go with Hillary, despite all her
Because
scandals.
Bernie's an excellent debater.
Yeah. Now,
Except against Biden, but against Biden, he was like, "Oh, my friend," but he wasn't great against Biden, which was unfortunate because that's what he needed.
Hmm.
he's not the best speaker, but he is incredibly sharp. Now, you could make the argument, though, well, what if Biden chooses Michelle Obama as VP? Or what if he
That
chooses
would be a terrible pick.
what if he chooses Barack Obama as VP?
If he chooses Tulsi Gabbard or Bernie Sanders, I feel like he might still have a shot against Trump.
Just
It's the only way, I feel.
he's not going to do it. He's not going to do
He
it.
won't do it, but I feel like if he were to have a shot against Trump,
The
that's
deep
what he would
state,
have to do.
the Democratic, the DNC, the Democrats, the deep state ones were basically lapdogs to the government, lapdogs to the corporations, right? The warmongers, etc. They are not going to allow somebody like Burt, because here's the thing: if Biden gets in, it's going to get to a point very quickly to where they're going to be like, we got to get him out of here. He's incompetent, etc. So the VP will have to be the president, and the president will choose the VP. Now, maybe Biden would choose Michelle Obama, and then she becomes president, and she chooses her husband Barack as president.
What if he chooses Hillary?
I don't think that's going to happen, but it could happen.
He might. Imagine if that happened. She's been like going on. She's been more active on her Twitter recently.
Yeah, I mean the thing of it is
that would be an unfortunate pick.
Yeah, as far as I know, they don't have any major scandals. I mean, the worst that you can say is that Barack presented himself as an anti-war president and then started all these wars, which is true. But at the same time, that doesn't bother the DNC, because the Democrats, once they get a Democrat in there, all these anti-war protester types, they're gone. They disappear into the woodwork. They just do, which, in my mind, says a lot of negative things. I mean, I'm kind of a blue dog Democrat. I would like people to have, they need to have social programs. But at the same time, the system needs to be overhauled to such an extreme degree that we're not going to recognize our government after, 10 years from now, we're not going to recognize our government. We're just not. Because number one, for example, the government uses outdated technology for the public. They have up-to-date technology for the military, but not for the public. If you go to your DMV, if you go to your local social security office, they're still running computer programs that are like, I read a story a few weeks ago. I forget what office it was, but they were running. I think it was. I hesitate to say. You have to research this, but they're using outdated technology. It's not up to date. Their programs, the software, etc. But the thing of it is that the way our system is functioning now, people have to learn how to do online business. They have to learn how to do school online. They have to do a whole bunch of shit online that they never had to do before. People are literally being forced to do it. Now, you're going to get a lot of people who they're going to sit back and they're going to say, I'm going to ride this out. Okay, they're doing the day drinking. They're getting fat. They're getting depressed, etc. They're waiting for things to go back to normal. It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. The world you knew a year ago no longer exists. It is gone. It may have been wiped out by a nuclear bomb, because you're never going back to it. It doesn't exist. And we have the government kind of saying...
Are you saying, like, is your rant like being like, the this corona thing is going to bring upon like I don't know, like fascist laws or fascist norms.
Yes.
I would argue with that. Yeah, because we're experiencing that already. It's just a matter of degrees. I'm not saying we're not going to.
I feel like we're experiencing it right now with people not going outside and stuff.
Yeah, well, obviously we're not going to have people.
That's just scratching the surface. So that's just scratching the surface. So, just for scale, Pluto, when you were 1 year old, 9/11 happened, changed the world. 3,000 people died, and the ripples of that were that we all lost a whole bunch of our civil liberties with things like the Patriot Act, right? Okay. So yesterday, 2/3 of a 9/11 happened in just one day, right? But if we look at the worldwide total right now, we're at 88,000. That's a lot of 9/11s happening all over the world right now. As far as the number of people dead, we are getting to the point where worldwide, every day a 9/11 number of people have died for the last 12 days. And it's going to continue. And today was the first day that we had 2 9/11s worth of people die in one day. This will continue.
There's that, but also
for months.
France in 2002, a year after 9/11, just in France, there was a heat wave in 2002 throughout Europe, so it's not just France. But 60,000 people died in the summer of 2002 in France alone because of this heat wave. And we still didn't see any like climate change laws passed or anything like that back then. So there is an argument to be made. Will we see anything like that now? Although I could see it happening, and I could see fascist laws starting to be in place because of that, like people not going outside and stuff. But there's an argument to be made that like maybe that won't happen.
So I misspoke. There was actually 2 days prior to this day where 2 9/11s worth of people died worldwide. This is just the third one on April 8th. One happened on the 4th and the 5th as well, where they legit had 2 9/11s worth of people die. But you see this climbing number right here in the United States of deaths every day. Right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy, and it grows. It's some days it's a little bit less than the day before. Some of that is just a lag in reporting.
Yeah, or like people attributing things to other diseases or whatever. Like initially we were attributing shit to the flu, but it was maybe corona.
Well,
Stuff like that.
part of it also is the fact that we've got a lot of problems that kill a lot of people every day naturally, like obesity or suicide or heart attacks or car crashes, etc. Nobody's really talking about that. Nobody's ever talked about that. That's accepted as normal. The difference with this is, number one, it hit our manufacturing centers, which is basically China, sadly enough. It was that the disease came out of nowhere, and the media hyped up the fear, and to a certain degree they should. We're just so unprepared for this, and it's ravaging the planet right now. And the problem is it feels like a slow burn. It's not going to just disappear. I would love it to. It's going to be a slow burn. This is why you keep having people say, buy a little bit of extra food, do what you need to do. Because the thing of it is, this is not going to be over in a month or 3 months. This could very well go into next year, because what a lot of people are forgetting, the southern hemisphere, right now it's their summer. What happens when it gets to be their winter? When people naturally get sick there. You're going to have the lower southern hemisphere. You're going to have South America, Africa, Australia. You're going to have them go through the same thing we're going through. And they're a lot less able to deal with this than we are. So it's going to ravage that area too. And also we have to question, is the virus going to mutate between then and now? Because we could get a second wave next year around December, January, February, and it could be a whole different bug comparatively. So we're looking at, there's over 1 million people infected around the planet. There could easily be, 10 million dead from this when all is said and done. And China, it's fighting an economic war. It's the only reason it started coming out with, people are cured, is because Trump said we're going to start moving our manufacturing back to our country. I'm all for that. There's no freaking reason, Grand Island here should, we should have, 15, 20 different corporations, their manufacturing hubs right here in the middle of the freaking country. We're not doing that. But, and I don't believe a damn word China says. Maybe they're over it. Maybe they're not.
Have you been going outside, Nick Bravo?
The what?
Have you been going outside?
Yeah, of course.
I just find it a little strange that you're like really worried. I guess you're worried about the law aspect to it, but you're like still going outside like daily life and stuff. I'm doing the same thing. But Agent of Doubt is not, which I don't know why, honestly. Like,
well, in a smaller town,
I haven't gotten sick.
People aren't taking it that seriously here.
You're cutting
We've
out,
still got
dude.
a lot of people sick, but the smaller the town, the less people are going to worry about it. If you're in a place like Denver, though, and you're just going for a walk downtown, cops might stop you. I mean, that's just the way it is. But it also depends on the culture of the city and the state that you're in. Right now, Omaha has lots of cases, and they have yet to issue a stay-at-home order officially. They're telling people, yeah, you might want to stay at home if you don't need to go out, but at the same time, it's like there's a lot of people, they can't afford to take a week off. They have to go to work. They have to buy food. They have to,
I can't.
The people at the upper echelons, they're going to be fine. They've got their $1 million. They've got their $20 million.
Agent of Doubt, do you have $1 million?
They're going to be okay. The problem is lower classes, because when we start seeing people not able to get the food because it's just not in the grocery stores or Amazon runs out or whatever, you're going to start seeing people crack and start doing stupid things. Some cities,
You think the grocery store's going to run out of food?
I don't think anybody's going to run out of food. They're going to run out of things they like, but they're not going to run out of food. I know some states are talking about banning alcohol sales, but
that would cause death.
That's suicide.
People that are alcoholics that drink every day in and day out, their heart will stop if they stop drinking. That will cause death, and that law would.
Well, just in Bakersfield, I mean, you've got within 6 months. I'm not sure how much it'll go up, but in 6 months there will be a flood of people coming into social services who are addicted to alcohol. They're obese. They're depressed. They're suicidal. I mean, you would not be surprised how quickly somebody can be suicidal in isolation if they're isolated enough. Thank God for the internet. If the internet goes down, you're going to have riots after a few days.
I don't think the internet can go down, possibly.
Like, it definitely might, and so will the electrical grid.
No, it's got I guess if the Earth was hit with a solar flare or something.
Well, that's not even the concern right now. What the concern is if we are in an economic war, because there's enough people saying, yeah, the Wuhan virus is manufactured. Maybe it was. Maybe it's a dirty bomb, so to speak. The problem is, whether it is or not, what if we get hit with an EMP? Even if you don't even have to get it over the whole country. You just get it over a certain part of the country, like, the West Coast or, the Northeast or whatever, and have it go off. You shut down the electrical grid, you shut down the internet, you get millions of people who there's no outlet for them to do what we're doing. They're going to riot. They just are. That's human nature, sadly enough. It's too polite.
And this thing right here that I put up on the screen shows that slow burn. And that is that China ended its Wuhan lockdown, and they've let people start to do things as usual a little bit in Wuhan. And then they had to put a lockdown. So this whole slow burn and rotating cycling of the lockdowns has already started in China.
But Agent of Doubt.
What?
Stein here says school that boy on alcoholism. Isn't it true that if you're an alcoholic, your heart will stop if you're drinking every day? I'm not sure, but you're like an addiction counselor.
Yeah. So if you are a heavy drinker where you're drinking to about blood alcohol content of at least, say, 0.2 every day, and you abruptly stop drinking, you are at a high likelihood for seizure from your blood pressure going too high.
Just a 0.2?
Yes.
That's
about
crazy.
10 drinks within an hour.
Mm-hmm.
10 standard drinks to get you there.
Oh.
If you're doing that every day, if you stop drinking, you're at a higher risk for having a seizure. Now, the more that you were drinking, if you were doing over a 0.3 or a 0.4, you're gonna have a seizure. Period. If you stop.
I
drinking.
heard in jail they have to give you beer.
No,
not in U.S. jails.
So they could literally just like let you have a heart attack. Also with benzodiazepines like Xanax and stuff, I heard that's the same deal because it acts on the same receptors of the brain as alcohol or something.
For benzos, they don't even let you do your detox in a hospital or in a detox before you go to the emergency room first and wait a little while there because it's so much more dangerous. If you've been especially drinking on top of Xanax and abusing Xanax at the same time.
I've never had Xanax, but I do drink.
Yeah. So the things that they use to keep you from having a seizure is not a beer, although that is something that they would do in third world countries. If they thought you were going to have a seizure, they might give you a beer because it's the cheapest, alternative to medicine.
No, I thought it was like a cool way to get like beer in jail. You just tell them
yeah, Pluto. If you want to know about jail and prison, I can tell you all about that shit. It's not fun.
No, I bet not.
You have no idea. You have no idea.
That they give you to keep you from having a seizure would be clorazepate, also known by its trade name Transine, and it's itself addictive, so they will only give it to you in a setting like a hospital, in the emergency room, or in a detox. Now, sometimes a hospital will trust someone with a take-home supply of like 10 of them. And so they tell them, okay, for the next 5 days, these 10 have to last you. And then after 5 days, you should be good and you won't have a seizure. If you're stopping drinking today and don't drink again, drink just a little bit after that 5 days, and you'll go right back to that seizure risk.
That's crazy. What about like methadone and heroin addiction? Because you won't die if you just stop taking heroin. So what's the methadone for?
Here's the weird thing about that. Now, if you withdraw off of alcohol or benzos, you don't go into as much pain as withdrawing from opiates.
Right.
Opiates deal directly with your pain receptors. So if you are withdrawing off heroin, you're going to be in a lot of pain, right?
Right.
Methadone and Suboxone are the two things that usually get prescribed for medication-assisted treatment for a heroin addiction, and sometimes they're now getting prescribed for pain management. But of the two, methadone has been said to be harder to kick than the heroin itself if you're trying to go cold turkey off of it.
Poseidon.
Suboxone is a better alternative, but Suboxone has a limit for doctors of how many people they can prescribe it to. Those doctors who are allowed to prescribe it, and a certain type of client thinks that they need to have a painkiller every day, so they're going to want to go to a methadone clinic instead, so that they can just be on methadone for the rest of their life. Other clients that actually want to get clean, they might go the Suboxone route because it has another chemical within it that makes it so you don't get as high if you were to try to use another opiate.
Right. Poseidon says in prison you can get everything: weed, heroin, coke. You just have to know who to be the bitches for when you drop the soap in the shower. You can get everything in prison. You don't have to be someone's bitch. Although the weed that you can get there, it goes for a lot of money. It's about $100 for like enough to roll a tiny little pincher joint. But yeah, I've seen stuff on it. Like, people can get anything in prison. There's like pictures of people in prison with guns and stuff. You just have to, you have to be affiliated with gangs and shit.
Yeah, but it depends. It depends on location. It also
That's true. Like state, federal prison, that kind of shit.
Yeah, it's
and the severity of getting stuff in, but you can get anything if you really put your mind to it. I've never been to prison. I've just seen shit on it, and they've like, there's a guy smoking a bomb.
It's just when I hear about documentaries and that kind of thing, saying like, oh, you can get anything in prison, it reminds me of these inmates who sit there and they would say like, we run this place, and I'd be like, okay, if you run it, leave. And they're like, it's like, come on, dudes. It's like, at some point,
some of them, they make money in there, so some of them might not want to leave. You
have to figure out at what point are you just self-deluding, because there's a lot of delusional people in society.
Well, when you're in that kind of like gangster life, you got to be deluding yourself if you're in like a box and you think you have it made. But I'm sure at the same time, if you're in that life and you're like a high-level boss, you're probably making a bunch of money while you're in there.
I'm sure they can, to a point. But at the same time, it's all about money. If you've got people who, they'll say to the guards, hey, I'll give you $1,000 if you do this for me. The guard's like, sure, no problem. So it's not even about morality. It's just about money.
So, Pluto, to Nick's point about the rolling quarantines that we're going to have to see for the rest of your lifetime, because us boomers, we fucked up. This is right here, the map of places that have a lockdown, right? You'll note that some of these states in the middle of the country haven't even done a lockdown yet. Texas just did theirs. So did Florida, right?
What's a stay-at-home order? What is that? Is that like officially you have to stay at home?
Yes.
I've been breaking that. I didn't know, honestly.
So 2 weeks from now, we're going to see how bad it is.
I thought it was recommended.
Right now, Louisiana is having a whole bunch of people die from COVID-19 because they had their Mardi Gras instead of locking down and canceling Mardi Gras. So if we go to the U.S.,
Easter's on Sunday.
yeah,
I did hear one of the preachers who they had their little Sunday service or whatever, despite the lockdown. Yeah, he caught it and died. So, they're going to have to take it seriously. And if you look on Drudge Report, even now there's like preachers. One pastor says his parishioners would rather die than not go to church. It's like, okay, well,
Because then they gotta go to heaven, bro.
they're
Be in church with God.
I've studied enough. While everybody else was, partying and worried about, getting laid in their 20s and 30s, I spent my years studying religion, spirituality, occultism, and psychology. So I can school any one of these MFers on the subject. And yeah, there is no heaven, there is no hell. But that's not to say that you're just going to, step into oblivion when you die either. But
No,
at some point, these people really need to stop deluding themselves. It's like Trump, honest to God, needs to sit there and say to these people, hey, stay at home. Church isn't worth your life. It's virtue signaling by a lot of these people. What bugs me is people like Kenneth Copeland. They're still like telling, in what's that little shit on the 700 Club's name?
Pat Robertson.
Yeah, him. They're still sitting there saying, "Oh, if you give us money, we'll pray to God, and God will cure your coronavirus." And it's like, you just want to.
Of course they do that. That's Pat Robertson. That's what he does.
You just want to
beat off. It's awful, yeah, but that's the way the world is. That's why I make videos trying to be like, fuck these people.
Well, if I was less moral and ethical, then I should get into the preacher game too, because I guess it's a good way to make money. So
I thought about it. I thought like I'll make all these atheist videos, then I'll become a Christian. And I'll make all these Christian things being like atheism's wrong, and then I'll make a bunch of money and be like, you all are stupid.
Market's saturated and YouTube's not the right place for it. YouTube is.
But mine would be like a lesson, you know what I mean? I wouldn't do like YouTube. I'd like write a book being like, oh, Christian.
I mean, what you'd want to do is you'd want to basically get yourself a website, write a book, go on podcasts and whatnot.
Yeah.
Get interviewed.
The lesson is that they're stupid, because I'm going to be at the end of all this, at the end of taking all their money, I'm going to be like, it was all fake. And you're all dumb. And you all should find something better to do with your lives than God. Hang out with your family.
Yeah, but that's being needlessly cruel. See, the thing of it is if you plan on becoming a therapist or anything like that, being involved.
Fool me on God.
Let's know what I'm saying. If you want to become, if you're, my point basically that I want to make is that you want to help people live better lives.
No, I agree. I haven't done that. It's just a silly thought I've had.
No, because the thing of it is though, if you, like, for example, if I was an atheist and I treated every Christian I saw on the street like shit, what am I doing? I'm basically making that person think that all atheists are assholes. That's all I'm doing. I'm not changing anybody's mind. I'm not, being a good person. I'm not being a superior person. All I'm doing is being an asshole and ruining it for the whole group, because unfortunately human beings see you as a representation of a group. So one person, if they get treated like shit by enough members of a group, they hate the group. And then any member of that group on down the line, they're going to get treated like shit, because the person's going to think, well, there was this one such and such, years ago or way off in the distance somewhere. They're going to think that way because it goes back to tribalism, because human beings are still very tribalistic.
Pluto?
Yeah.
This is some crude math, because we don't know how many people actually have the coronavirus. We only know the people who've been confirmed with testing, right?
Right.
So in the U.S., it's 432,000. right? We divide that in the total
Right.
number of deaths, and we're getting about 3.4%, right?
Right.
The World Health Organization said that the death rate would be around 3.4%, right? They haven't really been updating us on what the new death rate should be. And when we have this many people worldwide that have the disease, when we have 1.5 million people have the disease now, have the virus in them, it's going to mutate and make different strains. That makes it harder to give an estimate on what the death rate's going to be. But we can look at the two closest countries to us, Spain and Italy, right? Spain here has 148,000 people were tested as positive, and 14,792 have died. 792. We divide that really quickly. 148,220. That is a 10% death rate if you catch it in Italy or in Spain. A 10% death rate. I've
There's
even
a lot of
heard
old
of
people there, though.
this. Yeah, and I've also heard of them mischaracterizing some of those deaths as multiple organ failure so that they don't look like COVID-19 deaths because their death rate was so strangely high. Go over to Italy. Italy's got a completely different country, different set of numbers, right? They had 17,669 die so far.
Again, there's a bunch of old people there.
138,422 equals. They have a 12.6% death rate of the people that catch it.
That's
Here's
crazy.
back. Go ahead.
The shit's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their death
I
rates
don't know what to
have
say about it. It's baffling.
out. See, the people get infected, and then within 2 weeks later of being on a ventilator, they die in the hospitals. So what happens is you see the spread happen first. 2 weeks later, you start seeing these huge death rates, right? So what we have in America with an unsecure lockdown, where you have states that are not locking down and only did partial lockdowns up until this week. 2 weeks from now, we're going to see the actual deaths start happening in those states that didn't lock down.
Yeah.
That's Texas and Florida. So all that shit you've been seeing in New York City is about to hit Dallas and Houston and Fort Lauderdale and Miami. All of that shit is about to happen all over again in the next 2 weeks.
Well, and a lot of people are saying that the virus has anywhere from a week up to a 4-week incubation period. So you might not even know you have it. And then, 4 weeks later, all of a sudden you're maybe dropping dead. Another thing on Drudge Report, this is from Politico. Kushner's team seeks national coronavirus surveillance system, which means basically if you're out walking your dog, you could have a cop walk up to you and say, have you been vaccinated? Basically, your papers, please. They're already doing this in Russia, in Moscow and St. Petersburg. What they've got is they've got people on lockdown, and if you want to go somewhere, you literally have to type into a computer onto a website where you're going, what for, what time, etc. They give you one of those little QR codes or whatever. And then when you're out doing your thing, if you get stopped by a cop, you show them the QR code. And it's only for that one trip. So like if you're going to the store, you're going to the store. But if you take a side trip and want to go somewhere else, well, you can get fined for it. So this is what they're doing. National surveillance system. You look at we've already had stories in the UK of people being followed by police drones. So it's like, at what point, I mean, it's right out of the Patriot Act. It's right out of 1984. So it's like they want a real time view of where patients are seeking treatment and for what. I mean, it's crazy, because what's going to happen is you're going to basically be on lockdown, and you're going to have to ask the government's permission to go anywhere or buy anything. I mean, you go to, there are some stores, some states where you cannot buy non-essentials. You go to Walmart in some states to buy seeds, right, for your garden. They won't sell them to you because they're considered non-essential.
We started
Amazon,
that at our Walmarts. The DVD sections of Walmart have been taped off with police tape.
That's retarded. What if you're like bored because you're like? What if you are following on the rules and you're quarantining yourself and you're like, I'm a little bored. I'm gonna go pick up like 5 movies so I have something to do, and then you go there and it's taped off. That's retarded.
They don't consider that essential.
What about like mental health?
they don't care.
Well, I do telehealth for people. People do streams like this with me privately. You think the telehealth workers want to get sick?
You want to hear something fucked up, right? Last month, I was thinking of buying like a weight bench, with a squat rack and all that stuff, right? Checked out by Amazon, couple $100, right? It's nearly doubled in price, and it's sold
price
out.
gouging through the
You
roof.
look at all the exercise equipment, weightlifting equipment, because nobody's going to the gym. They're all buying stuff, right? They're all buying the stuff so they can do it at home. But since that stuff's non-essential, it's like, so it's doubled in price and you're not even able to get it.
Even essential items have risen in price, like bread, like those, like at my work, like disposable gloves have risen in price, stuff like that. Soap.
Yeah, but I think people are incredibly naive to think that the government loves them and cares about them. You're cattle. You're cattle. Just like why, you're a product being sold to advertisers. You are collateral for a bank. You are a product. And I know how conspiratorial that sounds, but to some degree, there are a lot of narcissistic, authoritarian types out there in every level of government, in every level of society, who would love nothing more than to, be able to goose step down the street and send somebody off to a camp. I hope I'm being paranoid. I hope I'm just being crazy, but that's a real concern that I'm seeing. It's like I'm seeing us on the precipice of just giving our rights away little by little, and then before you know it, you're living like they did back in 1930s Germany.
Yeah, but like the Great Indoors 1979, why is that fucked up? It's just capitalism. Oh wait, so you're like implying that I'm a socialist. I'm a democratic socialist. Like in a time of a pandemic when things are needed, do you really think that the necessary thing to do is to raise prices because you want to earn a little more money? Like, is capitalism really the right choice here? I believe in capitalism, but like,
yeah, but
why would you raise the prices? You're already making a profit on the original item at the original price. Why raise prices further?
The problem is, though, the prices are going up because factories are shutting down. There's not that many people at work. Products are getting more expensive because you can sit there and say, yeah, it costs maybe a nickel to make a can of Coke, right? You have to think about the whole line. Somebody had to mine that aluminum. They had to ship the aluminum. They had to turn the aluminum into cans. They had to paint the can. It's just, there's a whole system of distribution just to get one thing to you. And people don't think about it. There are literally people in this country who they go to the store and they don't understand where eggs come from. They don't understand where milk comes from. They have no conception of how much goes into just getting one item to the store so that they can actually buy it.
No, but I'm saying like the original price for gloves or soap or whatever, they're already making profit on that. So why would they raise it further? You know, why would they price gouge a ton?
Not necessarily much of a profit. That's the thing about how much of a profit.
Or if they are going to price gouge, why would they price gouge the hell out of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the question is, is it gouging or is it just the cost of doing business? Because
well, it depends. If they're doubling the price of something, that's gouging.
Well,
Pluto, here's Benabang saying, I was in the ICU from December 27th, 2019 to January 17th, 2020. Started with a diagnosis of pneumonia to lung collapse, blood clots. I believe it was COVID-19. A nurse I work with passed away after 1 week in the hospital.
That's crazy.
So, when you say it's crazy for me to stay inside and not go out and see people, I'll have you know that I was seeing personally clients up until the beginning of March. I was seeing 30 to 50 people a day in close quarters. Like where we were all sitting in a group room and any one of them who could have had the virus could have spread it to all of us. Right? So now my job is telehealth. And so instead of everyone coming into a room to get group therapy done, we go to a Zoom room that looks just like this. Right? But also, one of those nights, this was like 3 weeks ago, Misty and I both, and she's my girlfriend, she's downstairs, she's probably sleeping. She's a social worker, and she has clients herself, right? On the same days, we both were just like fatigued. Like you could not fucking give us enough coffee to get through the day. And it was like for 2 days, it was just like super fatigue. Neither of us had a fever. That's like the biggest symptom is the fever, right? We have thermometers in our bathroom, checked our temperature, no fever, but that fatigue that came over both of us at the same time, we're like, maybe we shouldn't go out and see anyone. Because if we have it, we could be killing someone. And if you're a social worker or a counselor and you go kill your client, that's not a good look.
No, man, I don't know. It's just, but then again, it's like a 3% death rate. So the odds, like, I guess you aren't comfortable with any odds like that.
So I've been watching that death rate in the U.S., right? It went from like 1.2 to 1.4 to 1.
It's raising. Yeah, it's raising.
So the spread happens quicker than the deaths. The spread happens like wildfire, and then the deaths from the people who are confirmed to have it start happening. And some of them, they'll get tested. They'll be confirmed to have the coronavirus, but their symptoms aren't good enough to bring them into the hospital. But by the time their symptoms do get bad enough to have them go to the hospital, they just die.
Yeah.
Right.
And also our healthcare, that's another thing that Bernie's been going on about that I agree with. Our healthcare system, the fact that we don't have Medicare for all, that like in a time of a pandemic, that would be just fucking perfect. Because then people would be like, oh, I have a little bit of a cough. Maybe I should get this checked out. And they'd have the ability to do so no matter what. Also, you should show me how to do this stuff with the StreamYard.
It's
This is
very easy. Just giving you the
No,
name
just
of
like,
the company.
like putting up the pictures like this, and then like the YouTube or the article thing. Because I have a podcast, and that'd be like just the thing for it. This is amazing.
So, let me get back to this. I've been tracking a few of these cases. This one in particular is going to become one of the cases that people talk about the most. We're in regards to Bernie Sanders's Medicare for All plan. This boy went to a hospital that only took patients that have insurance. He was turned away, and he was walking to a hospital clinic that they sent him to that would take him without insurance, and he died on the way.
Did he get hit out by a car or what?
No, he dropped dead.
He
He just
dropped dead.
dead. That's crazy.
Okay, so that part,
What's the autopsy say?
the dropped fucking dead, that's fucking crazy part, is what I've been tracking. From when this was just in China, there were Chinese reports of people being in line at the hospital, standing there, and then dropping dead. Right in the line. So, what's going on with this is there's certain people who are super susceptible to this coronavirus in a certain way where it all attacks their lungs and their heart all at the same time on one day that they have it. So they can get tested positive for it and get home because they don't have a cough that day. But by the time that it comes around that it's that day that it's going to have the flare up, they might not make it to the hospital in time. And it comes on with this attack that happened. It lasts for 1 to 3 days.
Aren't the risks for it like being old, smoking, and having asthma?
There's a whole bunch of underlying conditions that make you a bigger risk for it.
I have asthma and I smoke.
Yeah. So there's that. There's also your blood type. What's that? What's your blood type?
I don't know.
You don't know? What?
I don't know. It's I can never remember it, but it's something like something weird. It's not like A or B.
Okay. Well, O blood seems to be more resilient against it, and A blood is less resilient, more susceptible to it.
A couple of the papers that I've read say that it has something to do with the antigens within the blood. So I'm not really sure how that works, but I know it's different antigens for different blood types. And so it has something to do with the proteins, how the antigens interact with the proteins that are in the virus, from what I recall reading.
So here's another one. These are real news articles that they're not being compiled in the way that I'd like, right? But here's one. Former New York Police Department sergeant drops dead, quote unquote, after leaving hospital with COVID-19 symptoms, right? That means he had the symptoms. They weren't that bad. They sent him home, and then that rush of symptoms came over him, and he couldn't make it back to the hospital in time. That's how dangerous this thing is. For some people, it just comes on like a fucking wildfire in their body.
It's like a poison.
Let's see.
Well, and I mean, part of it is like you almost have to go to international sources just to get a lot of the stuff that's going on in the country because the media is not talking about it. So it's like, yeah, the question of it is, I mean, people are being forced to have to check out alternative news sources, multiple news sources, and then they're being forced to have to basically learn and do the research on their own. Because journalism right now, as it is, especially in America, it's about shock value, it's about clickbaits, it's not about telling people the facts. And it's all just the tail wagging the dog.
That's a good thing that people are learning how to do that, though.
They're not letting us
Maybe
do
not
it.
under the circumstance, but the learning that the news is bullshit and that you should go online for your information, and not only online, but to alternative news sources.
Yeah, but us doing this, I mean, like most of the people. I mean, when I first moved back here to Nebraska, I was shocked by how ignorant most people are of just the basic things that go on the internet, as far as like just the Drudge Report. It's like that's been around forever, and yet I'll mention that and they'll be like, oh, I never heard of that. And it's just like, oh my God. Oh, and this is even the young people. I'm not even talking the 60-year-olds. I'm talking like the people, in their, 17, 18, 19, up into their 20s. And it's like,
Yeah, people are stupid.
All right,
Yeah.
Pluto.
I don't know. We're a bunch of monkeys, really.
well,
Pluto is another case I've been adding to my list. This is a mammographer that was in Georgia. She worked in the hospital, did the mammary gland test, squeezing people's boobs in the pancake thing and taking the X-ray. So this lady, she goes home off of her shift. She's the only one at home with her child. She dies. Her child was with her, dead in her home for like at least 12 hours.
Damn.
Just like the kid was there with the dead mom, right? She just left the hospital with no symptoms. And the reason why they found her as quickly as they did, that she died and she'd been dead for 12 to 16 hours. The reason why they found her,
she didn't come in for her shift, right?
She didn't come to work the next day.
Yeah, man. You want to like pull up some pictures, some cats, lighten up the mood? No, I'm just joking. But really, that's awful.
So when I say that this thing,
it's serious. Yeah. No, I know it's serious. It's just I didn't really realize how serious it was until really recently.
Yeah. So we need universal health care.
100%.
100%, right?
People in Canada aren't dying because they're being turned away. People in the United States are. Yeah.
So you saw the number of people in the U.S. that have the coronavirus.
Just wait.
Yeah. So we established that as 432,000 people confirmed cases, right? We're now up to like 4 million people who would have lost their health insurance by now because they just got laid off. So 10 times as many people who got infected by the virus so far, confirmed, just lost their health insurance. And they're going to get sent home after their COVID-19 treatment and they're on a breathalyzer and everything with $100,000 worth of debt, medical debt. Easy. If they have to be on a ventilator and they don't have medical insurance because their medical insurance ran out because they lost their job because of this, well, how many people just filed for unemployment? Record numbers of people in the millions.
You know what this might be, though?
What?
This might be the thing we needed to get universal health care, to get some socialist reform in this country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you know,
Like,
that,
Bernie Sanders might have lost this year, but this COVID thing might bring about some change.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well-
not a lot of change, but at least some change.
yeah. And another thing we have to worry about too, also, what about the people going into hospitals for other things, right? So it's like if you had a surgery scheduled, well, you know, it's not going to happen because of the COVID-19. What if you're a woman going into labor? You got to go to the hospital. Okay, now you're around a bunch of people who are potentially sick and dying, and it's
No,
like
no. They're teaching women how to have their baby at home.
home births. That's good.
Home births, and some of them are home water births.
That's going to have to make a comeback. Yeah, because I mean, the minute you step into a hospital, they've done studies where they've just basically swabbed just the waiting room of hospitals and found so many different diseases. It's ridiculous. You think they think, oh, we're cleaning constantly. Well, it's like it doesn't help, because then even if you're cleaning, you get stuff that's resistant to bacteria, or you get the resistant bacteria, the resistant viruses. You're just basically creating super germs right there in the hospital.
Poseidon says, if that were true, Pluto, Bernie would win now instead of dropping out. Biden is totally against Medicare for all. Well, the COVID-19 stuff happened after Super Tuesday whenever Biden won a bunch of states. But also, I'm saying the after effects whenever people realize, oh, fuck, I don't have health care because I don't have a job right now because of this pandemic, but I really need health care because of this pandemic. People are going to realize maybe universal health care isn't such a bad thing. And already like more than 50% of the American population agree with it. So that number is just going to skyrocket.
So another one of the top stories on CNN today. This is creepy. Cats can get the coronavirus from humans and then spread it to a different house by transmission from the cat to a human. So now the vets are advising keep your cats indoors to self-isolate with them so that you don't get like human to cat, then cat to cat, then cat to human spread.
So our pets are going to die too.
Actually, no, that's not a given. They can just be carriers with no symptoms.
Really? Damn. Lucky them.
I mean, eventually we're going to have to develop a herd immunity. I mean, that's just the only choice that we're going to have. Because what's going to happen is if enough people die, I mean, what are we supposed to do? Sit in our houses for the rest of our lives? You have to make the argument of, well, maybe we should just, because if, I mean, I know how this sounds, but it's like there's over 7 billion of us on the planet, and were it not for the fact that there's no apex predators that prey on humans, I mean,
no, I get what you're saying. You're saying like maybe we need this a little bit because of overpopulation and stuff. I agree, actually.
Saying it, but I mean, if you're, I mean, it's tragic for somebody who's a young mother or a 17-year-old kid.
It's tragic, but when you think about it, it might be necessary.
If there's billions of 70 and 80, 90-year-old people running around, sucking up all the resources.
Climate change, getting rid of a few people would help.
I hate saying it, but I mean, it's like...
I mean, I hate saying it too, but it's true.
Well, yeah. It's the how much is a life worth? It's like, well, do you let these people die so you can save the greater number? Or how does this work? Because it's like...
have you ever heard the trolley?
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah. What is it? It's like... If there's like a group of like 5 people on one
It's on a
track,
track, and it's going to run over 3 people, but then you can turn a lever and then have it diverted, so it's only going to run over one person. But you're going to have to be the lever. And it's like most ethical people, it's going to be like, even if they do it, they're going to have to live with it the rest of their life. They'll
because then I'd be committing murder.
So, Pluto, do you recognize this person right here?
Boris Johnson?
Yeah.
Trump's evil.
You know who he is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. British Trump, basically.
Yeah, Britain's Trump. Okay. Second night in a row he's been in the ICU.
Yeah, I heard about this. Yeah, the ICU. That's crazy.
Well, some people think Trump has it.
You might.
See, there's some people have different levels of symptoms.
Yep.
If Misty
Also,
and I,
like 45 people thought Boris Johnson would be okay.
well, the doctors are letting people go, saying that their symptoms aren't bad enough to be in the hospital. They send them home, and then they end up dying. I've just showed you a couple examples of that. Like, this thing can have a certain level of symptoms, die down for a bit, and then come back and get you.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot believe we have Mr. Godby here in the chat. He's got to have something better to do. He must be on lockdown. I feel bad because he's way too educated to be in my chat right now. All we're doing is having a pity party, Richard. We're upset that Bernie dropped out of the race. At least 2 of the 3 of us are.
I wonder if he's too chicken to come in here and converse with us.
I bet he is.
We're all such
people are chicken shits.
We're all so intellectually weak compared to him. So it must be that he's a chicken. Is he a chicken?
That's probably not it.
No?
He's not a chicken. Let's see.
Won't Poseidon to come on.
I wanted him to come on too.
Oh, okay. I guess apparently he has a class that he's going to be teaching later.
Who? Richard?
Apparently it's early morning there for him. So he says I do have teaching to do in half an hour. So, okay.
Well, I'm going to give him the link to join anyway, because he deserves the link to join. But yeah, he is old school Ponage veteran. Probably best to not turn over that rock. There's a scorpion underneath it.
Ah, okay.
Just saying.
That's fine.
I wonder if Richard's allowed to stream his seminars that he gives at uni. Can he just record them? Oh, wait. He just jumped in to meet your challenge. There he is.
Hello. I don't have long, but hey, I'm not doing anything else. I'm waiting to talk about the French Revolution with students, which is just depressing.
Is that a harpoon in the background? What is that?
It's an electric double bass.
Okay.
Even cooler.
So
He harpoons the chicks with it.
yeah, right. It's a chick harpoon.
Yeah.
It's a hub.
Are there any parallels between the French Revolution and what we're experiencing right now? Or is it completely none at all?
No, none at all. Lots of people died, actually. The aristocrats were completely dense. That's a parallel, I guess.
Tell us about
But other than that,
Tell us about Robespierre.
well, he wasn't dense. He was just psychotic. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Didn't he want to, like, after the French Revolution, before he got his head chopped off, he, like, proclaimed himself a god or something?
No, not quite. He wanted to create a really pure government. By pure, he meant only people were allowed to live who agreed with him completely. There's some parallels now, I guess. But he wanted an ideologically pure government. And just as the terrors, which is when they killed all the people who were really very royalist off, started to ramp down, he went, no, we've got to kill the moderates as well. And the people who are just slightly not on our side. And you've got to kill you. And so, yeah, they got rid of it. So,
And then he shot the head.
So, Dr. Rich, I went my entire high school without knowing about Robespierre whatsoever,
yeah.
never hearing about him. The reason why, after getting a bachelor's degree, I finally looked into who he was, after not hearing about him my life, was I started watching Doctor Who from the first series on.
Well, there you go.
And he was in Doctor Who. Somebody played him as a character, and I was like, was this guy really that bad? Seems like he's a little mini Hitler.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
pretty much. Yeah, if Hitler hated anybody, well,
Yeah.
pretty much, yeah. That's Robespierre. Oh, he was a lot smarter than Robespierre. Robespierre is the reason that a lot of people think the Enlightenment had a lot to do with the French Revolution, because Robespierre was a proper Enlightenment philosopher. He knew his stuff. It just also. So, yeah. No parallels.
So
Keep
what
cutting
sort
out.
of exercise do you do before you have to teach all of the people in your class? Yeah. Do you have to crack your knuckles?
That kind of stuff. No, at the moment, because we're doing online seminars. Our university has its own version of this called being a university-owned thing isn't anywhere near as good as this. It's really hard work. And you can share screens, and there's a virtual whiteboard and stuff. So we just got to get everything.
Okay.
Oh.
For me, I have a little ritual where I have to set up my coffee, and I have to get my clipboard like this, like so, and I have my special pens that are very runny.
Okay.
And
Right.
this is in person, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm doing my therapy groups, I have this runny pen, and all of the other pens that are just regular Bic pens with maybe some companies printed their logo on the side, I call those client pens.
Right.
And these are my pens.
It's actually funny enough. My brother was a GP. He said that infection going around a hospital, and they could not trace anything. They could not work out why this infection kept going around the hospital until they suddenly realised it was the doctor's pen. He kept taking it out, using it. Somebody else would borrow it and then take it back and then go to the next one. So they stopped putting pens. You had to take a pen out of a dispenser as you went in each ward, then leave it in that ward, wash your hands and go. So that's not a bad idea at current moments to have your pens and their pens. You see.
Yeah. And it didn't start from cleanliness. It did not start from cleanliness. What it started from was if I were to hand someone my pen, they're not going to hand it back.
There is that as well.
Such good pens.
Yeah.
So I keep a hold of them. And nobody else is allowed to borrow my pen. No, you go grab a pen from over there. The one with the little flower taped to the end of it.
Yeah.
Right over there.
Big curly straw thing on the top.
Yeah. Sometimes we use spoons.
Yeah. Oh. I just have Sharpies. When I was teaching in a room with people, do you remember that? Doing that when you were actually in a room with other people? Weird times. But we have whiteboards, and they put whiteboard markers in every room, and within an hour of the year starting, they're all gone. Different lecturers have put them in their bags and walked off with them. So I have my own supply of them, which have actually got labels on them. In my bag downstairs with my name on, which basically say Dr. Rich FG's pens, fuck off on the bottom. That tends to work. Yeah. Oh dear. Pens. Who's the cat?
Yeah. No. This is Mr. Kitty.
Excellent.
Yeah, I thought it was the best B plot going on. Like
So
our
I
heads.
have a question for the good doctor.
Yep.
How much do you watch the show Doctor Who on the BBC?
I do. I didn't watch the most recent series because it
How-
was crap.
How much
But, yeah.
does last season suck?
I really didn't like that last season, particularly the reveal at the end. Being a sort of, I've liked Doctor Who since I was tiny, and they just took loads of old Who lore and went, let's take this and let's find a bin and let's dump it in there to you, fans. And it's like, Chibnall.
They've destroyed the brand. Yeah, they've completely destroyed it. I really liked it when they had Eccleston as the Doctor. I really enjoyed that. I got into that, and then I watched a bunch of. I became a fan, and now I see what they did with this, female Doctor. They wasted such a. It would have been an interesting idea turning the Doctor into a female, but then they just completely fucked up the whole franchise.
Yeah. The thing that gets me as well is I have nothing against the idea of the Doctor Who being female or male or whatever. He's an alien, that's weird. Yeah. But the problem was they had the other female actress, I've forgotten her name, the black woman, play an older Doctor, and she was so much better than Jodie Whittaker. In the 5 minutes she was on screen, I'm like, I want her. She's awesome. She's brilliant. She's just the Doctor.
Oh yeah.
But, oh well.
I actually, when I saw that, because I saw some clips of her on YouTube, and I actually had this going on in my mind. What if this was like, I was like, what if this is their planning that they're going to make, like the big reveal is going to be that the black woman is the real Doctor, and Jodie Whittaker is the Master, and she's the, when I heard they were bringing Captain Jack back, I was like, okay, maybe they're going to do an episode where he rescues the Doctor and he, reveals the Jodie Whittaker person to be the Master. And like, there are so many ways they could have gone with that show to make it really fucking awesome. But it's like the reveal at the end, they just basically destroyed the franchise. I honestly don't think it's going to recover. I mean, it's going to take decades.
I'm worried about it. The whole thing, the Master, I destroyed Gallifrey. How did you do that exactly? I who used to them piss you
exactly.
Civilization confused, Anyway.
Do you guys watch Star Trek?
Did you see that clip on Facebook where some of the cops had one, and I think it was in the UK. They had one of the life-size Dalek running
So,
around.
yeah. I think that's not far from where I grew up. I recognise the street, but
Get
that's
back
brilliant.
in your house.
Hilarious.
Yeah,
Get back in your house.
yeah. Someone's having
You
fun.
contaminate. You contaminate.
Yeah. I recognise that street. I'm trying to work out exactly where it is, but there are enough nerds where I grew up that it's definitely there.
Dr. Rich, how much time do you have before your class?
It's 10, my class, so 3/4 an hour, half an hour, because I've got to log in and stuff. And being anyone who's ever worked in university and used their own IT system knows that it takes at least 4 attempts to log in. I don't know what they do.
We had better get on that. It has been such a pleasure to have you.
That's okay. Yeah, I'll do these things. I've got a while yet, and I have to go now.
Okay.
It's 9:15 here, so I've got half an hour. Unless you're booting me out.
No, I'm just worried that, like, are you going to go straight from talking about Doctor Who to click?
Yeah.
Revolution?
Listen, my seminars usually often end up talking about Doctor Who, trying to get things in context. It's for the first year undergraduates, so it's trying to get. I've got to ask them questions like, what exactly is a revolution? And so, actually, Daleks is a great idea. I'll see if anyone have watched Revolution of the Daleks. They tend to be nerds. They will have done, and I'll use that. So it's doable. I can work this.
All right.
See you later.
But we're not going to be able to work in this coronavirus into the French Revolution.
No.
He didn't give much of a lecture about that, though. It's disappointing. Enlightening, you know?
Well, this course, because it's a particular area of history, has actually skipped over the plague. And I'm now thinking, well, that was a mistake, wasn't it? There was a juicy fruit to be ate there.
Right.
You know?
It could be not a mistake, though, because it could be very triggering to people.
Yeah. Well, I tell people, when people start my course in history, I used to teach the very first class they did, which is called History in Practice. And my first thing was, if you're one of these people who gets very easily triggered, who needs me to warn you of things beforehand, this is history. It's nasty, it's brutal, it's violent, it's revolting, and it's horrible. If you want to avoid those things, physics is down the corridor. Okay? You're in the wrong class. So they're already warned. They know what's coming. So,
but that's what's great about history. That's what happened.
So would you
There's no
see
sugarcoating it, you know?
parallels between
I'll be right back.
early 1900s and then this current decade, century? Because in America, basically, they had the Great Depression in the 20s and the 30s. Yeah. Then that was like, I'm concerned about the rise of fascism, especially here in America.
Well, there's a worldwide depression coming. I'm pretty certain of that.
Yeah.
The only way to avoid it is the kind of things that's never going to happen, like putting an 80% tax on people who've got more than $1 million, pounds, whatever coming in. That's not going to happen. But that's the only way I can see to avoid a depression. Because we can't bail the banks out again. We've already done that, and it made us skint for a decade. So, you know, the banks could bail us out. There's a mad idea. In fact, our Chancellor, the British Chancellor, I've forgotten his name, but our main Chancellor, who was a political figurehead, resigned because he didn't get on with Boris Johnson. And they ended up quickly putting in his number 2, and his number 2 is actually a proper accountant. He knows what he's doing. And he's been fine. Every time he's got up to the podium, I'm like, he should be Prime Minister. He's actually awesome. I know he's a Tory, and I don't like Tories, but he's a technocrat. He knows what he's talking about. And he seems to have some interesting idea, but he did have a talk because in this country we're giving businesses a loan to carry through that's backed by the Treasury, by the government, and it's 80% of it is backed by the government. For the remaining 20%, the banks have been doing things like putting 50% interest on that 20% and all this crap. And he basically did this speech where he said, banks, I have been seeing what you are doing. In 2008, we bailed you out. We could withdraw our investment in your companies at any point. And then just left this silence. I thought, I do like this guy. I really do like this guy. So, even though he's a Tory, but he's clever and he knows what he's doing. So, you need technocrats at a time like this, I think.
In America right now, we have an equivalent here in America right now. So the guy that's handling the response to the coronavirus, they brought on a doctor.
Yeah.
His name is Dr. Fauci.
Fauci,
And
yeah.
every time we defer to him for an answer, it's like, why isn't he running the whole thing?
Yeah.
You know, and he's now making the rounds on talk shows, and he's eloquent. He explains everything perfectly.
Yeah.
You know, and when Trump misspeaks, he is very quick to correct him, even in the same room.
Yeah, and I've noticed he's got this incredible talent for correcting him really politely so as not to upset Trump. So when Trump says, oh, you know, it's just like the flu, and he'll say, well, just like Trump says, it's just like the flu, but imagine a flu that kills lots of people. So he's sort of not saying he's wrong. He's saying he's right, except for that he's wrong. And he's brilliant. I actually think I have been watching him. He's a talented man in lots of ways. Still, yeah, it's we're waiting to hear whether our lockdown is lifted today or not in the UK. Probably not. Our death rate is still going up, but our admittance rate is just plateaued. And of course, that is a better indicator than the death rate, because the death rate there's a delay. Yeah. So I think they're going to wait till it actually starts to drop before, and we'll have another 3 weeks. And if in the 3 weeks it's going down, the admittance rate, then they'll let us out to infect each other for a little while, and then we're back on lockdown again. Because that's how this is going to play out. A few weeks lockdown, a little while of not lockdown, more lockdown, a little while, a bit more lockdown, so that we can all get herd immunity without overrunning our medical systems, basically. Seems to me the plan.
Yeah, and we're all just drawing straws till then.
Yeah. Yeah. And I keep getting things like, I'm trying to buy a vehicle, and the guy just emailed me and said, if you come and get it this weekend, I'll give you £1,000 off. I'm like, great, but I can't. So, you know, it is very frustrating. But we'll live. Most of us, some of us. Yeah, Boris Johnson, by the way, is apparently a lot better.
No.
No, I mean,
that's great. That's great news.
To be fair, the guy's got a fiance who is pregnant, and I feel for her if he was to die. Not him. I feel for her anyway because she's going to marry him. But I would feel for her if anything happened to him more than anything else. So, plus the guy who's currently our de facto prime minister, I don't like him at all. But again, he's a technocrat who knows his stuff, so that's not so bad. So how are things over there? I watched the news about America, and I know that Trump is insane. But other than that,
that's still going on too.
Bernie dropped out today.
Yeah, I heard that Bernie dropped out. I also know for a fact that Trump's going to get a second term, because all I've seen on Facebook and Twitter is, I'm not voting then, or I'm voting for a third party then. Have you learned nothing? You know, come on.
Yeah, the last two press conferences that he's done, everybody's been standing 6 feet away from him. The one before, I think the one yesterday it was, he looked a little bit under the weather. So I actually think that he's probably has it, and has right now. He's not really showing any symptoms.
Yeah,
but he's still. You can kind of tell he's like taking it a little quite a bit more seriously than he did a week ago.
I did. I heard a rumor. I don't know if you guys have heard anything about this. That one of the reasons Trump suddenly started taking it more seriously is because a friend of his got it. An older friend ended up in ICU, and it was hell. Okay, this is real. But if he gets it, I'd actually be more. Boris Johnson is a prat and is a bit of a weirdo, but he's youngish. He's in his 50s. He's healthy. He looks big, but he actually cycles everywhere that he can. So he keeps quite healthy. So even though he had trouble, he looks like he's coming through it. Trump, I wouldn't bet on him surviving because he's old and fat.
Probably not. No, he's old as shit and he's in terrible health.
Yeah. So you
You're
get kids. Wouldn't that be nice?
Dyes his hair.
So do you think more people would die if we went to just doing like the herd immunity thing?
Yeah. It's not about, from what I can gather, it's not about not doing herd immunity. It's about doing herd immunity in such a way that your hospitals don't get overwhelmed.
Okay.
That's why it's lockdown, release, lockdown, release, lockdown, release. And hopefully either a vaccine will come along, a treatment will come along, or we'll get enough herd immunity that we can stop that. But that's going to be years of that, I suspect. Mm-hmm. So herd immunity is the goal, but we've got to, we've only so many beds and so many ventilators and so many doctors and nurses. So you got to control it.
Yeah. Well, they have shown some. There are people who have shown some improvement with the chloroquine, I think it's called. And
they have, but it's really dodgy.
My concern is that if there's something they already have that works, that they're just trying to come out with a vaccine so that way they can, number one, continue the lockdown for whatever reason, and then number two, make money because, frankly, the FDA, I mean, here in America, nobody really trusts the FDA anymore. We know they're corrupt as hell. And as far as big pharma, same thing. They're corrupt. All they care about is money. So, because, there's life-saving devices that you guys have in London that, we're not allowed to have here in America, despite the fact that they're proven, to help. So
that's weird. One of the things I hear in the UK particularly is some of the people that have stepped up outside big pharma. So, for example, ventilators. It looks like we're going to have enough, and the reason for that is the McLaren Formula One racing team and the company Dyson just invented, patented, and started making ventilators. They're making 1,000 a day. Those two companies. I think they're the ventilators that America doesn't want, because apparently you're going to have 100,000 ventilators in the States at the end of July, which is great, I guess. Mm-hmm. But they work, and they're being mass. I think there's going to be a list at the end of this of people who've been naughty and people who've been nice. So on the nice list, you've got McLaren, and you've got maybe Dyson, and you've got the people who've gone out of their way to do something. Then on the naughty list, there are companies that aren't, even though they don't sell anything essential, are insisting their staff come into work and won't pay them sick pay if they don't. They're on the naughty list, So we had a gym, a Sports Direct gym and sportswear company that would just not shut down and said, well, we're essential. If people need to exercise once a day, they'll need trainers. Like, no. And they can get them online. So we're gonna need running shoes. Are they now? So it's. But
I sent Brian a link so that we can replace our token British guy with another.
Good plan. It's always good to have 1/4 British in any conversation. I find it's a good balance. It's a bit like the genome of the average American. 1/4 British is about right.
Hey, did you see the London Real channel? They interviewed David Icke, and YouTube took down that video.
Yes,
it was like the third highest rated live stream for that day, and YouTube just took it down and then made up a new rule to where they're now having the algorithm basically take down any video that talks about, or shadow ban at least any video that talks about the coronavirus or 5G. So did you have a chance to see that?
I saw some of it, but David Icke is famously bonkers. I mean, this is the guy who was committed, and while he was committed, he watched the TV show V, and since then, everybody's been a secret reptile. There's no coincidence between these things. That show being out at the same time as he was committed to an asylum. There's no link between the two, honest. But yeah, there's a link between the two, I think. And just his whole, the Queen is definitely a reptile, apparently. 5G, it was 4G before, and then 3G before that, and then mobile phones at all, then the internet. And I think if we'd have just come up with bits of string and cups, he'd be talking about how they are part of the NWA. Don't get a cup and a bit of string; it's going to bring you down. The Telegram, that terrible New World Order device. Oh dear, he's strange.
I can debunk the link between COVID-19 and 5G on one website.
Yeah,
I'll be right back.
We zoom in a little bit.
Yeah,
that is Iran right there.
Yeah.
They have almost 4,000 deaths from COVID-19.
And they're reporting is shoddy.
64,000 people get it.
Yeah.
Confirmed. They have no 5G towers whatsoever.
Yep, exactly. It's going to be 5G.
I don't even know that they have 4G. But they certainly have no 5G towers.
Nope. No, they definitely don't.
Not big fans of the internet there.
But the NWA is secretly putting them there, and they don't know them. You see, that's what it is. There are some in Iran. They've just not admitted them, despite the fact they're really easy to spot because they're huge and ugly. They haven't been putting any anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah. Well, there's all sorts of really quite interesting theories come out, and I think what actually happened is, I know, hold me, I'm a bit out there with this. This is a really weird out there theory, but I think that there was a virus in an animal sold in a market in China, and it jumped species, and then that person infected a lot of people, and then they traveled and it's affected a lot more people. Now I know that's a bit out there and weird, but that's what I think might have happened, because that's what's happened before.
I've seen enough videos, done enough research on my own, and I'm not a doctor. Obviously, I have no scientific background, but it's just I've studied enough to where that, to me, it's more plausible that it's a bioengineered.
Doesn't need to be.
I'm not saying that the Chinese did it deliberately. I'm not saying it's a bioweapon. I mean, it could be, but I have a hard time believing that all the
coronavirus
came together to create this particular virus. To me, it's just.
But viruses jumping species.
China, if it was a bioweapon, why would China disperse it on its own population?
Because they're animals.
But also, viruses jump species all the time.
Well,
it's not a big deal. It's not a major thing. It happens. And in a massively highly populated area like Wuhan, where they eat really dodgy stuff, it happens more often. So,
well, yeah. And also when what was it, Ebola? What was it that hit when Obama was in the presidency?
Yeah.
The media did not talk. The media was pretty quiet about that. And that was almost as serious. So I
remember Ebola being everywhere.
I wonder.
Our media was quite big. Was quite good on the Ebola outbreak in Africa. The Ebola outbreak in Africa. I used to work for a infectious disease unit that worked through Uganda. They had the benefit of being a part of the world where, let's just say, the government is able to put quite tough restrictions on travel down. That's the nicest way to put it, i.e., you go over this line and I'll shoot you kind of restrictions. And that's kind of what held that in. It was guns in a big circle going, we're going to wait this out, and those that are alive, then you'll be allowed out.
But I'm also wondering, though, if the media isn't overhyping a lot of this, because I mean, I know I'm living in a small town, and the whole state's kind of like this, where, you know, I'm in the state of Nebraska. Most people here in Nebraska, especially the smaller towns, they're not taking it that seriously. They're just like, oh, it's a flu. The media's making too big a deal of it, whatever, etc. So even though I'm looking at other sources, it's like I'm not even sure if the media's reaction is overreaction, because here in America, everybody tends to be on extremes. Either they love their government and trust it completely, or they hate it and want to overthrow it. So
it's weird because death's cause for like a reaction, but some of the reactions that people have had have been really fucking stupid. Like people buying toilet paper and masks. That's retarded. Why are you doing that? You're pooping the same. You're eating the same amount of food.
If I could find it, as a friend of mine, Dean
Burnett.
I
see that.
There's a friend of mine, Dean Burnett. He's a neuroscientist, and he writes some really good psychology books on this sort of thing, on behavior. If you look up The Idiot Brain or I told you the name of his new book. I'm not supposed to do that. The Idiot Brain or The Happy Brain. He wrote those two books. They're fantastic. But he wrote a blog post on why humans go for toilet paper, why we have this impulse for that sort of thing. And if I can find it, I'd link it with you. But look at it, just put Dean Burnett toilet paper, and I'm sure it'll pop up on Google. But here, it's weird. We had that here. I mean, I'm lucky. I have this charity toilet paper thing where I get this bamboo toilet paper delivered to me once every 3 months. I get basically loads. And the money goes to helping create toilet facilities in villages in the middle of the nowhere. And it just so happened my last delivery was 3 weeks ago, so I timed it quite nicely. So everyone's thinking, why have you got all that toilet paper? I am the 1%. Look at my low roll.
Buying masks, like if you're going to the store because you hear, oh, there's a pandemic, and then you go to the store and you buy everything on the shelf, you've got a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's weird. But the thing is, everyone I know has got 3-4 weeks worth of food in the house now. We've all kind of done it, just in case we're on lockdown, just in case we get this thing and have to stay at home.
Do you ever watch King of the Hill? It reminds me of the Y2K episode they had, because Bobby Hill wanted a bunch of toilet paper in case of Y2K. I don't know. It's kind of similar.
Yeah.
Well, but you also have to consider a lot of these people in America, especially the bigger cities. It's like they're not stocking up on anything ever. They're just, they don't prepare, and then so like you'll have like for example on TikTok, like last week there were a lot of people posting of how they have here in America what's called
on TikTok
couponers, who they'll have they have coupons, and they will, they'll
I'm not on
just
TikTok.
little by little they'll gather more than they need, but it's in such a way that by the end of the year their pantry is completely stuffed to the brim. They don't even really need to go shopping for a long time. They've got so much reserved in storage that this hits when the shortages hit, they're not the least bit worried. But at the same time, there's people like in New York or LA who every day they have to go to the store and buy something because they never buy extra. So you're seeing a lot of these people who never had to buy extra, never had to do anything like that. They're freaking out.
Yeah.
Because it's a completely new thing to them.
Yeah.
Here in Nebraska, we get so many blizzards and crap every winter. There's times when entire towns are shut down for a week. So everybody knows to have, extra. So it's it's a very interesting psychology within America.
My mum lives in southern Spain, and they didn't get it at all. So they were on lockdown and only allowed to go to the shop or the pharmacy.
Yeah.
So they go up to the shop and get their breakfast stuff and go home. Then they go and get their lunch stuff and go home. Then they go and get their evening stuff and go home. They did that every single day. And that's one of the reasons Spain kept going up. And so what they did, they brought in a minimum €30 spend in supermarkets. So you had to do a biggish shop. You couldn't just go in for a loaf of bread and some ham. You had to spend it. That helped quite a lot. Yeah.
So, Dr. Rich, before you have to go, I want you to weigh in on one of my theories about this pandemic.
Okay.
So my theory is it's not the Chinese fault.
Okay.
Who do we know that might possibly fall prey to the idea that pangolins can cure erectile dysfunction, happens to go on world tours all the time, and bites the heads off bats?
Okay. So you're blaming Ozzy Osbourne for this?
I didn't say it, you did.
But Ozzy's new album's so damn good. How dare you?
And people went to the stores to buy it, and they just snatched it up off the stores. What if that album is the vector?
The vector, yeah, the album. Yeah, no.
So, one interesting philosophy book that I have, and I'm going to share a recommendation because you shared a couple with me. This I found very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Impossible History of Anarchism by Peter Marshall. It's basically a history of the anarchy movement from Middle Ages and whatnot, all the way up to present day, or at least I think it was written in. So when was this written?
Bina Bang, this is hot.
Yeah, it copyrighted like 92. So it's
From This Is
it's
Alcohol.
really good. It talks a lot about philosophy and stuff, especially like Nietzsche. I don't think it has Robespierre in here, but possibly. It's been a while since I read this one.
I am. I actually have a soft spot for anarchism. It's I would say it's one of the most beautiful political ideas. I'm not convinced, although I'm getting more convinced at the moment of its practicality, because I think if we lived in little anarchist states, we'd actually deal with this a little bit better. But
This is also nicotine.
But yeah, I think I've not read that one, but I do like the principle of it. I don't have any books around me. I'm currently reading this thing because I'm writing a chapter on the one of my chapters in my book is going to be about the emotional underpinnings of Islam.
Yeah,
I'm being very careful, very careful. But it's so Karen Armstrong's very interesting. She's one of those. She wrote a book called The Case for God once, which is not a very good argument actually. But her other books on the history of religion are absolutely top drawer. She's done the Buddha and Jesus and you name it. She's done a book about a biography of them. So, I better go because I've got work to do.
Awesome.
Okay.
So, let's see if we can. Come on, Brian. Enter here. You're commenting a lot. That's wimps. Get on here. And I'll see you all later.
Just in case, Dr. Rich, stay away from Black Sabbath for 2 weeks.
I will. Is it just Ozzy Osbourne's new album, or do I have to avoid anything involving the people who played on it? So no Guns N' Roses, no Chili Peppers. I've got to keep away from the lot.
This is bigger than I thought.
Yeah, it's scary, isn't it? Anyway, I'll leave you with that.
Brian, you have a link in your Facebook. I dropped the link there. It's also in my Discord chat. It's a lot of places. But I directly sent you a link, Brian.
So Nick, you believe like anarchy should be like the form of government we have?
No, because unfortunately, most people are not capable of. Most people are not capable of anarchy. They lack self-discipline. They lack a degree of intelligence. They're too keyed into might makes right, and they have way too little self-control.
Okay, but what if everyone did have self-control, and everyone could live amongst themselves? And let's say we got anarchy as our form of government. How would anything get done? You know what I mean?
Well,
how would people go to work?
To do it,
like even if we live civilly,
anarchy
go to work. You know what I mean?
Works in a small scale. Like the family, the nuclear
right, and like small communities, but in cities, there's just going to be chaos.
Well, out of it, and
because we already have this established system of the way we do things. So I feel like in cities, if we did establish that, obviously you're saying that it's not possible, but I'm just saying like anarchy as a concept forever is not possible because we already have mass populations of humans in places. And if you take away government there would just be chaos. Now, there would be an argument for villages having anarchy that might work out. I'm not sure. There's like communes and shit of hippies and stuff that
to have anarchy. The only thing anarchy means, anarchy is simply no rulers. It doesn't mean that there's not rules. You still have rules. It's just that there's no rulers. The thing of it is
but if there's no rulers, who's there to enforce said rules? And
are undisciplined.
What rules are there if there are no rulers? You know what I mean?
They make choices. They make choices which are often self-destructive, self-sabotaging, doing nonsense, which basically
rob somebody.
Suffering of themselves and others. Therefore, anarchy cannot work at a large scale. At a small scale, it can work. But even then, most people have a craving for rulers, sadly enough.
I mean, I don't crave for a ruler.
No, but are you disciplined enough
Obama, to fuck Trump, fuck all of them.
I didn't have a craving for rulers until this coronavirus thing happened, and then I started having more discipline. So I was like social distancing myself away from Nick right here.
Yes, this is why I'm wearing a mask. I don't trust you Americans as far as I can see you.
Damn. No, the way I see it is the more like disgusting you make your body, the less likely germs are going to want to inhabit it,
That's an interesting theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll call that interesting.
What's the foundation of it for you? That theory.
Oh no,
I
was basing it on. I don't actually believe that.
Oh, okay.
Welcome back to streaming,
Are we all wearing masks?
Yeah, I tried streaming the other day. I figured I'd do a little bit of game streaming, but I think I had 3 concurrent viewers. I'm so out of practice; it's just not good.
This one's been up to 20, but it's never been the same people. Minute by minute.
Hang on, let me just move this so that it's censored. Oh, can I do that without?
I think we might be ushering a new age of stream here.
You think? Well, I was talking to my dad this morning, and he was asking me. He was saying, "So, I don't know about this computers thingy. I think it's just going to end up with people just, wasting time and messing around and being unproductive." Until I explained to him that yeah, there's quite a fair-sized chunk of the economy these days that is actually carried out online. So I think this sort of thing is going to become more common
Oh yeah,
as a way of people actually socializing and maintaining, the social bonding and cohesion.
this is what my job looks like.
Yeah, I can see a lot more professions that used to require, you to go into the office either to work or to engage somebody. I think a lot more of it is going to be done this way as well. I agree. Unworshipped deity in the thing there. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, he hasn't changed much, has he?
Well, I know a couple of people on.
I'm
There's
surprised that he showed up and graced us with his presence. I'm honored.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to get this technology to work. This is the first quadruple person stream I've had in a long time.
Well, the other day when you were having problems with OBS, I did suggest this StreamYard to you. I'm glad I'm glad you took it up.
Well, that fixes this part, but there's still some advanced tricks that I want to bring to the game.
Such as
all of the different functionality of OBS. Maybe I can bring it into the StreamYard.
you are okay. Let me think. You're streaming this StreamYard to YouTube via OBS, yes?
No,
No?
I'm streaming this StreamYard to YouTube via StreamYard.
Huh. Okay.
On a
Well, if you were
browser-based client.
the what? Sorry.
On a browser-based client.
Okay.
It even has my chat in it.
I still need to figure out Streamlabs because I know you can do the same thing on Zoom. I haven't figured that out either. I have to do this on my YouTube channel.
I don't know if it would break it, but I could actually show you the client. But it might do that whole mirror image thing.
Yeah, infinite regression.
There. So, yeah, there we go. I'm breaking the stream. It's like the beginning of a Doctor Who episode.
Oh, there's live comments. So that's the actual chat. Oh, okay.
Okay, so let's go back to this. And
oh, sorry about that. We've actually got activity outside. Excuse us.
Oh, there's activity?
Yes. Landscape maintenance outside. They're weed whacking the grass for us. So yes, life still carries on.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm going to have to mute because this is ridiculous.
I wonder how many days that person has been in the hoodie.
5.
That person is exiled, and she put it on because I don't know.
I've heard horror stories about sweatpants that haven't been changed in a week.
You've heard stories?
Yes.
From whom? About whom? Details.
Well,
we need details. Vagaries like this, you're as bad as Trump.
I'm as bad as Trump?
Yeah, seriously. It will magically disappear in April.
That sounds like a throwdown.
Oh, definitely shots fired, Nick. Definitely shots
Yeah.
fired.
This is the stream where we're mourning Bernie Sanders and him stopping his campaign, and so we're not going to get any of our free healthcare or free education because
I have as much love for Bernie Sanders and respect for his timely demise as I do the Happy Cabbies. So
Oh, talking about shots fired.
Damn, bro.
Brian,
Yes.
Brian,
Bernie was cool.
you in particular, I wanted to introduce you to a concept that Pluto told me about earlier in this stream. Okay.
Okay.
So there's this guy who makes a video called One Man, One Jar, I think it was.
Yeah, that's what it was. You want me to explain it?
Yes, please explain so that Brian
Alright.
can
So
hear
it's kind of like
the
Two Girls One Cup, but instead, this guy he takes a mason jar and he shoves it up his butt, and then it like cracks at the end of the video and blood starts coming out.
Yeah, as Exile says, that's wonderful. I can't get the flat tone at which she said it, but
So we got to that because people have been putting weird porn links to actual YouTube videos on my videos. One of which is just a guy who pooped in his hand and rubbed it on a mirror, and he was
Lovely.
holding a phone with his other hand, so it was like TikTokable.
lovely. Aren't we an awesome species?
100%. We're a bunch of big apes that drive cars.
There's a bundle in that one sentence that could take a month to unpack.
Brian, are you stocked up on tea?
We have plenty of tea, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
He's
we have
British.
enough tea.
What are you talking about? Of course he's got tea. He heard about this corona shit and he was like, I'm going to the store to get tea and toilet paper.
No, didn't need to. We already had toilet paper. We had that one covered. And tea, yeah, it's a staple over here, so we had that one more or less covered.
Did you get
Already.
crumpets? Isn't like flapjacks over there? Isn't that like a granola bar type thing?
Yeah, granola bars, not a bad comparison with a flapjack.
I never got why British people called underwear pants.
We can't understand why you call underwear, why you call
No, I get
trousers
it.
pants.
It's just the difference. You know what I mean?
I don't know why
Because the original word was trews.
I don't.
That's
I
why
don't-
you get a pair of trews.
Speaking of underwear, I don't know
Never
why
gotten a pair of screws
so
in my
many
life.
keep on wearing them. Underwear is for girly men.
Pluto, I'm going to
You
tell you
wear
something.
underwear for
Underwear is
girly
for girly
men.
men who don't know how to wipe their asses properly.
That's who you wear underwear for.
I don't.
I think I just learned too much about you, Nick.
I don't need to because I know how to wipe my ass.
Trust me, guys. He watched the video on YouTube. He knows how to wipe up his ass, bro.
Pluto, there's something even more disgusting than one man, one jar.
Yeah, Mr. Hands.
I've heard a story that in certain places they take milk and they put it in their tea.
Oh God!
There's nothing wrong with that. The British copper is the staple of builders throughout the country. And you want to know something? Having seen both, our houses are much more sturdy than yours. So our builders must be a little bit more burly than yours. So I'd say, on balance, the builder's cup of tea, probably a good investment.
I have to agree with that. I'm sorry. I
Bailey's, isn't that the alcohol that like is like cream?
Oh, you mean Bailey's?
Yeah, Bailey's.
Yeah, that
I
goes
drank
nice
that
in
with
coffee,
tea
by the
one
way.
time, and it wasn't
Bailey's,
bad.
Bailey's is good shit. It's good.
Yeah, it wasn't bad with tea though. Like everybody around me was like
Bailey's and
gagging,
tea.
and I was drinking it because I was like, "This is actually kind of good."
Actually, I can see that working. Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that working. I've not tried it, but I
It
shall.
doesn't sound good, but it actually is. You should try it.
Yeah, I know it works in coffee, so I can't see any reason why it wouldn't work in tea. It's not going to curdle, and that's what would put somebody off.
Yeah.
That's why you would. That's why you wouldn't put milk in a herbal tea, for example, because it curdles.
Brian, you're gonna make Nick puke.
And Nick looks all right.
I am busy playing Pokemon.
There you go. He's fine. He's distracted.
Pokemon
He's
Go.
got something shiny.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't you have to walk
Yes.
around?
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. We have the bottom line from Dr. Richard Firth Gobbeer. He says it's high in sugars, proteins, water, vitamins, and fats. So there you go. That
Okay,
explains why
why-
our builders are more burly than yours.
Why
I don't know,
is
those
Dr.
British
Firth
guys.
showing the virtues of milk and tea and literally saying it puts hair on your chest in my chat when he's supposed to be teaching a lesson on the French Revolution right now?
He is.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
he can do
Well, see,
things
this
at
this is probably relevant to the class. Yeah, he's probably
No.
He's probably stream sniping us. Yeah. All right, and I'll tell you how it's relevant. Yeah, are you talking about the French Revolution?
Uh-huh.
Okay, there is probably parallels with what's going on now. A change in the way society is structured. So it could well be relevant to the class.
Oh, he said his students hadn't turned up yet, but they have now.
Yeah.
So
But he like rushed it and typed it because he's like, "Oh shit," because he misspelled a few things.
no,
Yeah,
that's
so,
not.
all right. See you later, Rich.
That's not misspelled. That's just British. They do a lot of misspellings.
Oh yeah, they put the H.
They don't even call it an H.
Look, you guys, speaking of the French, you guys have historically had much closer ties than we have. And yet you scorn their spellings.
True.
Haiichi.
Am I wrong?
No,
Like
it's-
restaurant?
True.
Yeah, I can't spell that.
No, Pluto. Mitch didn't just spell Haiche.
What do you spell?
wait, the French can spell? When did this happen?
That's what Brian uses in place of H. It's H.
Oh, H.
No, it's an H.
The Hague.
No, it's H.
Yes, it's an H. Exactly.
No, you're hearing me wrong. It's H.
Pronounce house.
Bro, house.
Now pronounce herb.
Like some guy named Herb.
All the stuff you'd put in a soup.
An herb.
Now, why do you drop that H?
Herb.
I have no idea.
Why don't you live in an house? Or
Isn't
go
that how
to
you
an
guys say it?
or go to hospital.
That's true. But
Because
no, you just
Herb
sound like me. Yeah, you're
sounds
right.
like a name. Herb was used to be, well, people used to call their kid Herbert or Herb. So that's the
Yeah.
only reason they changed it.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't pronounce it Herbie Hancock.
No, you have
would
that
you?
argument lined
It'd
up
be
though.
Herbie
You heard that a
Hancock.
lot.
But you know that Pluto never says go to hospital as a sentence ever. Let's go to a hospital.
Yeah.
Even so, it should be
No, it's
an
not even that.
hospital.
It's let's go to a hospital.
And how many times do you do something by accident as opposed to on mistake?
Usually it's by accident.
Yeah, but most
Well,
Americans do things on
accident.
accident or by mistake. You've
No,
inverted it for some reason.
Mistake implies that you're to blame. Therefore, it was an accident. Unforeseen, had no control or responsibility for. If I say,
Yeah, but you're focusing on the wrong word, Nick.
no, if I say I make a mistake, that means I'm to blame. I am never to blame for anything because I am perfect. Therefore, there are only accidents. I try to avoid accidents. I never make mistakes.
Yeah, but your focus is still on the wrong word.
Blame for anything.
But would you do it on accident or by accident?
Controls. I'm never to blame for anything.
Mike, explain it to Nick, please, because he's not getting it from me.
If you difference on or by.
The word mistake implies that you are to blame.
I know. We're not
personally. An accident means that you are not to blame. You had no responsibility for it. It was someone else's fault, or it was God's fault. So just
Nick.
Mitch Crane has something good to say.
We get the distinction.
There are no mistakes, only happy accidents.
We get the distinction between mistake and accident. It's the word preceding it that we're talking about.
I didn't.
On accident or by accident?
I was distracted by Pokemon Go. So.
Oh, there you go. It's Pokemon's fault.
Yes, exactly.
Which makes it an accident, not a mistake. All right.
Certainly says the Scotch Irish de top de bear H's. Do you see that?
Where am I?
Sounds a bit like a Scottish person to me.
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, we've got some of those.
That's true,
We don't
Mitch.
need to use a sheet protector.
Mitch says in the chat, Mitch says there are no mistakes, only happy accidents. And that's quoted by that's from Bob Ross.
I don't know. That time that woman rammed into my car from the back with hers, that wasn't a particularly happy thing.
Sounds happy.
Are you staring at that woman right now?
What woman?
The one that
flashing me, dude.
No. No, this is 15 years ago, the last accident I had.
Now,
and actually, that accident did involve somebody being at fault. So I question your logic, Nick.
Yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't British slang for a strap-on the word car? So when you say she rear-ended me with her car,
No, you don't understand British slang. It doesn't even work in Cockney rhyming, that one.
I'm okay. I didn't
stretching it.
I didn't mean to cross the line. It's late.
You didn't cross the line. You just got it wrong.
Is there a British slang for a strap-on?
Probably not.
No, I think strap-on pretty much covers it. Everybody knows what you're talking about.
That's what I figured. So he's saying there's British slang for it. So I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, this is what I mean. Nick's premise was wrong from the get-go.
It could be a strapped by.
It was an accident.
Yeah, he calls a strap on a car.
No, Nick, it was a mistake. Mistakes were made.
But none of them my fault.
Whether through ignorance or guile. mistakes were made.
Exactly.
Oh wow!
My good-
I've just seen video of a squirrel nicking a bag of nuts from a stall. It's hysterical. Well done, little fella. Go get it. He's obviously stockpiling for when humans die off altogether and can no longer leave treats.
So there's a guest that hasn't connected their mic and cam that we have been berating this entire stream as one of the chickens who will not jump in the stream. All that needs to happen now is a mic and cam connected, and we will have a showdown. And you can show us how.
Who's this?
This person's name is Corny.
I wasn't here, obviously, for the shade that was thrown.
Oh, we were telling everybody, jump in this stream.
Is it Poseidon?
No, it's Corny.
Who's that?
I'm not seeing the name.
Yeah.
Is it Poseidon? Is that who we're talking about? Wait, which pussy ass bitch are we talking
Oh,
about?
hang on.
Scary
There's a
Cat.
message from him in private chat. I don't think I can turn on mic as I have people sleeping in my house at the moment.
Oh,
So?
Corny messaged me privately, says, I don't think I can turn on the mic as I have people sleeping in my house at the moment.
Am I muted?
That sounds like an excuse.
No, we can hear you.
I actually, while we're waiting for that to resolve itself, Exiled has a question for Poseidon Kitchlidon.
Sure.
I was just wondering on the origins of your name. Could you explain it, please?
Who, me?
No, Poseidon Chicleon.
Oh, I was like, what the fuck? No, I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, Pluto coffins. That's easy enough.
Yeah, dude. I figured.
Stargazing death
I've had
wish.
people ask, though.
Yes. Mitch Crane
Right.
asks.
They're saying that Pluto is a sex maniac, but hands off Poseidon. He's underage.
No, I'm overage now. When I was underage, I dated a 25-year-old, though. Well, no, she was 24 at the time. Sorry.
Poseidon answers your question and he says, I'm the god of the oceans. Duh.
No, what's the Chichlidon part?
The Chichlidon, that's got something to do with it's to do with biological phyla, I believe. The however the fuck you pronounce that. I think that's the phylum that includes things like squid, octopuses, cuttlefish, and crabs, things with shells. But I could be wrong.
Okay, so Corny has made it halfway to jumping on stream. You guys have made this a successful test of the streaming, so we can bring back the streaming. But I have to go to sleep because I've got clients in the morning, and it's the morning, so I need to get a little rest.
All right. Well,
All right.
just to finish things off on a philosophical note, Mitch Crane says in the chat, "You can make a mistake, but can you make an accident?" Interesting point. Stay safe.
In my pants.
Meh.